the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. And yeah, Bomber T is letting everyone know already. Best intro on YouTube. We really appreciate that. And we've got some, news about the 49ers. We didn't break live earlier. We decided to go ahead and wait on the Darqueze Dennard returning to San Francisco on a one-year deal. Darqueze Dennard says after the season that San Francisco made him love football again.
True. So
the 49ers organization brings him back, and now they got another talented veteran player that's going to be coming in to compete. I mean, yes, this is a 90-man move, but we've been wondering who was going to play the nickel. Could it be Darqueze Dennard?
No. This is definitely the 90-man. This is filling out the 90-man. I mean, this is what this is. It's filling out the 90-man, and it's a guy that you brought in at the end of the season and was on your active 53-man roster. So this was a guy who started off the year on your practice squad, or not off the year, but came in about midway through the year on the practice squad, and then eventually makes his way onto the 53-man roster, getting into the playoffs and the end of the season. So you feel very comfortable with where he is, what he's shown in your system, and how far he's come. He's 30 years old, so he's definitely not out of the prime necessarily of his career. He's probably coming into it, if anything. And you like what you saw out of him, so hey, let's bring him into the 90-man. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can add. Also, Ant, our favorite thing right now for the 49ers to do, cheap option for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
That's not going to go over the one of the top 51 salaries for the San Francisco 49ers. So at the moment, not going to count against the cap. Niners have made a bunch of signings over the last handful of days, right? A lot of them are not top 51 rosters. So yes, the Niners are paying money out for these guys, but it's not necessarily incurring a cap hit at the moment. So the Niners haven't necessarily moved off of that 2.3 or whatever million it is that they have in cap space.
Yeah, they still have about a little over $2 million left in cap space. So you're not sold on Darqueze Dennard competing then, right? So you're just going to ignore that week 18, he was in the slot, and Dante Johnson was at safety, and the 49ers were able to come back and defeat the Los Angeles Rams, the eventual Super Bowl champions, Alex.
I'm not going to ignore it. I'm also not going to crown him for it.
You completely poo-pooed it. He is definitely in to compete for the 53-man roster spot.
I agree with that.
But this is a for sure a 90-man signing. But he's going to be there to compete, and he does have a lot of talent. And like Bomber T said, first-round guy. I mean, this is a guy that showed a lot of talent, but hasn't been able to completely make it work yet. But this is something that happens in the 49ers organization for years. I mean, Carlos Rogers, Dante Whitner were also first-round picks that didn't perform at their former teams and then come to San Francisco, get in the right scheme, and then they're able to operate at a high level. Maybe. Darqueze Dennard's one of those guys. What I do like is that someone can at least come in, another veteran that can continue to compete and push these other guys, and maybe just help the guys out a little bit.
Very true, and I do like the signing. It does make sense in terms of a scheme fit, a schematic fit for the 49ers. It makes sense from a competitive standpoint of the room and wanting to fill it out with guys who have played and shown they can execute at your system, execute at a high level anyway, and are going to push the young guys that you have, because you can't just sit there and with the young gunners, right? The young gunners and Ambry Thomas and Diamador Lenore, and not bring guys up underneath them or around them that are vets who aren't going to push, right? If you're just going to roll with those guys in, it's not that they don't have motivation. Of course they have motivation. They have salaries. They have expectations. They want to make themselves starters. They want to, earn themselves a big contract. But by bringing in the guys around them that are also hungry, they also want to make a 53-man roster. They want to, revitalize their career. A guy like Dennard, who said San Francisco, basically made him love the sport again, made him love football again, something that he had lost, that he thought he wasn't going to find. He finds it again in San Francisco. This guy's extra motivated. This is a place that's giving him a second chance at life and a second chance after pursuing the thing he loves most. So he's going to fight every inch that he can to not only just make the roster, be a part of this, but to be an active role player in this team, on this roster, being a guy who can try and get on the football field, which is going to put the onus back on the young guys. Hey, there's guys here that have been in the league, have been working and grinding, and know what it takes to make a 53-man roster, that now feel like, hey, maybe I have a chance to get out there and play a role and play significant snaps.
I would say right now, with the way the contract is currently constituted, he's the most likely to start at the nickel corner. And it might not be people want to hear right now, but that's the truth, because Ambry Thomas would have to beat Emmanuel Mosley out on the outside for Mosley to move interior.
True.
And so it's Diamador Lenore, Darqueze Dennard, and Dante Johnson. I'm going to take Dennard right now. I just think he's better than the other two, and I think that he could prove it. So we'll see. I do think they're going to address this and then get an actual starting nickel corner.
Good chance.
But I do like the potential of this guy being able to come in and play. Who knows? Maybe they found a little bit of a quick little cheap guy here that can do something big for them in the long run. So yeah, it's a solid move for them.
It is. It's a very solid move, Ant, indeed. Brad had asked earlier, Dennard isn't the one who got burned against Miami last year for us, was it? No, that was Brian Allen. Not Darqueze Dennard.
Yeah.
So no worries.
No, Dennard only played in one game officially for the 49ers, I believe, was towards the end of the season. Week 18 against the Rams, and you would not know because his name wasn't called because they did not throw his way because he had great coverage. Dennard did a very good job, and so did Dante Johnson playing safety in that game. They were really the reasons the 49ers were able to, or big-time reasons the Niners were able to hold it together on defense and get out with a win in Week 18 and then get to the playoffs because if they would have lost that game, they wouldn't. So he came up big in that situation, but he was a late signing. He wasn't with the team for only a couple weeks, and he was already out there contributing to the roster.
Very accurate, Ant. And David had said Dennard was not worth an Insta live stream, LOL. It was more of we had already had a plan in place with no news having broke up to that point in the day to go live tonight. And once the news happened, it was like, well, we're a couple of hours away. If we're a little late to the Darqueze Dennard breaking news, not the end of the world. We're going to be live anyway. We're going to go on so we can talk about it then. But the Niners have been doing other things, and they've been making other moves, and we've seen some of the contract situations as well, Ant, that have come out for the San Francisco 49ers. Brock is doing some work there with the cap and how he's structuring some of these contracts. There's some low base salary for vet guys. They are really taking advantage of the vet exemption salary this year. And it's really keeping things low in terms of base salary and what that costs. And right now that's benefit for the 49ers because you're able to bring in guys and fill out your active roster without it being in the top 51, which means you can sign as many of these guys as you want as long as they don't come over the top of that top 51 number, the top 51 contracts, that is not counting against your cap at the moment. So that's a positive thing for the 49ers. Prague is definitely working his magic. And it's helping because it's allowing them to fill the 90-man roster while they wait to see what the plan is in terms of not only the draft, but Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, this is what you have to do. And he's one of the best at finding creative ways to be able to work these contracts to be very flexible for the 49ers, whether that's the current season that they're in to work around the salary cap, or even if you need to get off those contracts in the future. And some of the numbers that are coming out from these contracts are very good for the 49ers. Just like Ray McLeod, the initial reports were 2 years at $10 million. And now, really the cap hits over the next 2 years are only going to come out to and equate to $4 million. His salary cap hit for this season's under $2 million. It is tremendous. And then you got Jordan Willis with the 1 year deal. He's going to make some money, but what happens is it's going to be the vet exemption. So he's only going to make I believe it's $970,000 against the cap this year. So the 49ers are doing a good job of making sure they work these contracts to be able to be flexible, to bring in players. So they're building the roster, and I think they're doing a very good job of building the roster while they still have the elephant in the room, which is Jimmy Garoppolo's contract. While they try to figure out what to do with that contract, I believe they're waiting, for him to get healthy. They're really not going to do anything. And I think it was David West who asked.
It was Brad West.
Brad West. Okay, thank you.
Brandon West. I'll get it right.
Yeah, thank you. Asked about Jimmy Garoppolo restructuring his contract. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to restructure his contract right now. To me, that doesn't make sense for him. He'll definitely wait until he gets healthy. He knows the 49ers aren't going to cut him or move him more than likely till he gets healthy. So he should just wait. I think, if we wanted him to go take a pay cut, he probably could. But that would mean you'd have dead money down the line a little bit. And you don't want to have dead money down the line because you don't really expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be on the 2023 roster. So that'd be a void year and you'd be eating some cap. So I don't think that's going to happen. But we're all in the waiting game. And the 49ers are building a roster in spite of that $25 million contract being on the book.
Definitely in spite of it, Ant. It's definitely 100,000% in spite of it. And look, I think this seems like this was always the 49ers kind of go-to, right? Was to make the moves that they made to get themselves under and then fill out that kind of roster because there hasn't been any additional moves or anything, any sort of additional restructurings, extensions, things of that nature, including some extensions that you and I both thought were likely for San Francisco. They haven't done those things. They haven't extended Jimmy Ward. They haven't extended a guy like Robbie Gould yet. They haven't extended a guy like Samson Ebukam and freed up some money, or, people were talking about potentially cutting Samson Ebukam to free up money. The thing they did do was restructure D Ford, right? They restructured Eric Armstead, which made sense. The fact that you had someone like George Kittle saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to restructure means he's all in on the future plan of this team. And in a shocking turn of events, he's going to be here for a long while. So while you do have some people saying, hey, Debo and Kittle's value right now, you can trade them and get a lot of capital and we can do some fun stuff, which is funny because I thought those same people also wanted weapons around Trey Lance, but that's beside the point. The fact that a guy like George Kittle is, after signing a big contract, agreeing to and accepting said contract restructuring after 1 year means he's all in on the future plan for this organization.
2 years.
Right, 2 years.
Yeah, Fred Warner was last year.
That's right.
I think that they are in for the long haul for these teams, or for this team and for this group of people. I think they all have agreement that they can do something great with this team. They're just trusting the process right now, and they have to. So I mean, right now Jimmy Garoppolo's contract is going to be sitting there, and you just gotta move forward, and that's what they've done. And they've made a flurry of signings, and I was wondering how they were going to get this done. And the way that they've done it is structure every single one of these, and they've probably had framework of these things worked out, because that's how Parag works, of making sure they could get these guys underneath the money that they need to get them under. So it's been well played so far. It's been well done. And all the while we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo's money that's still out there that we could be using, at the same time, there's a lot of veteran players that are still unsigned. I mean, let's go. Let me just read them real quick. So really, are the 49ers hurting themselves? They have plenty of time, it appears, because Bobby Wagner, Stephon Gilmore, Odell Beckham, Tyrann Mathieu, Julio Jones, Jadeveon Clowney, Calais Campbell, J.C. Treader, who we all love, Jarvis Landry, Melvin Gordon, and Dwayne Brown are all still free agents.
Those are all still wonderful names.
So I ask you, Alex, do the 49ers really have to move fast, or is the market saying you don't have to move fast on Jimmy Garoppolo, you have time?
I think the market's saying you have time because there's still a lot of names out there. But I think the Niners don't care. I don't think they care right now. It doesn't feel like any of these names are motivating them to do anything drastic. Because there's still a lot of things they can do outside of trading Jimmy Garoppolo to free up millions of dollars in order to maybe go out and sign one of these guys. The way Parag Marath has already maneuvered around the salary cap with the restrictions you've had, you got to imagine if he had $7 or $8 million available this year, that you could get one of these bigger named guys in here on a $6.5-7 million contract with escalators that pushes money into 2023, right? Like, he could easily do that. So the fact that the Niners aren't even doing that to get one of these guys tells me at the moment, not only are they not in rush mode, they don't like the numbers that some of these names are at, like where they think the numbers are, or maybe they've had conversations with these guys and their agents and where the number is, and they're just like, as of right now, we're good. We're good on this. We don't need this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting overall, too, that these veterans haven't decided to, kind of take less money, to get off the market. Because
also true.
The closer you get to the draft, the more you run the risk of the team deciding to go young at the position. For instance, if you're a wide receiver, and I said this when the whole Tyreek Hill thing came down, is MVS is going to Kansas City. It just made too much sense.
Yep.
And he did land there. And I think that now there's other receivers that need to go find a place to land, because if not, this is a very talented wide receiver, group for the draft. And if they land one of these wide receivers, like if somebody goes into that draft and lands Christian Watson, for instance, or they grab London.
Do you think there's any chance at this point in time that Christian Watson isn't going in the top 30?
Yeah, I do. I think it's top 40 for Christian Watson.
Okay.
Because I do think there's a lot of guys that are really valued above him still. There are teams that are going to go ahead and take advantage of some of these other guys. So I think that, he could go in the first round. I definitely think that's a possibility. But I think he could fall as far as 40. I think that's the top end, though, for him. I think he's a top 40 pick. I think someone will take a chance on him. But there's some other guys along the way that are just, enticing, or maybe a little bit more enticing. Plus the run that goes on edge rushers could push some of these wide receivers back a little bit.
Could.
And I think some of these teams are going to need to make big moves. And I know you talked about Kansas City. Well, Kansas City, they made a move for one safety, but they've got to replace both safeties. So they could possibly be drafting a safety in the first round as well.
They very well could be, and they do have 2 first-round picks, so we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do and how they decide to address this. David Campbell asked, any chance of a new big yikes segment, guys? 49ers socials are absolutely yikes-worthy these days. They always are, David. They always are. A little bit of a hiatus on yikes for the moment, for the time being, but we're going to get back to it soon.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Content for Big Yikes. Sorry, contact. Anyways, it's content for Big Yikes. Yeah, David, it'll be coming soon enough.
It will be.
Yeah.
Right now, the focus has just been free agency because you just don't know what's going to break.
Yeah.
And we're still in. I mean, this is technically still week 2 of free agency. We're in wave 2 at the moment, and we're coming up onto wave 3. So once we get through wave 3, then things are going to ramp up here on the channel. We're going to start shifting away from free agency more into draft content, and then that also means new shows, new things on Patreon, new things for channel members here on YouTube. So lots of things in the works.
Yeah. There's lots of stuff coming up, and this is the thing. We're getting through free agency, transitioning to the draft, and that's what I'm excited to get into is the draft content. That's going to be coming soon. And that's the thing is like the draft is just right there, right? It's like the shadow that is hovering from the draft is something big. Free agency has been a little bit crazy this year, but the offseason for the NFL has been crazy, and I think that's part of where we've been at right now.
Very true. Very true. Brad asked, hey, guys, where's this rumor coming from about Jimmy to the Panthers for Burns and Darnold? Where's it coming from? The only person I've seen like really actively pushing this is Brad. Brad seems to be the guy.
Brad Graham from the SF Niners.
He seems to be the one putting this out there very heavily. He really, really wants Burns. It's very obvious he wants Burns.
I don't think it was the Darnold part. I believe it was the Burns part.
The Burns part is him. I don't know where is the Darnold part coming from another talking head?
It's coming from national media. The national media had put out would the 49ers do a Jimmy Garoppolo for Sam Darnold and a pick, basically, is what I saw. But I did hear reports that the Carolina Panthers came out and said they haven't talked with any teams about a quarterback in a while. And the Indianapolis Colts apparently said they were really never talking to the 49ers about Jimmy Garoppolo, but in fact, we're doing their due diligence on Jameis Winston.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting, Ant.
But yeah, Brian Burns, Brad is definitely pushing that, and Brian Burns is an excellent edge rusher. If they're willing to move off of him, because if you did have to get creative with a trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, and they don't really have the picks, the second and third round picks, you could potentially work something out with Brian Burns and somebody else. So I get why he's pushing it. I don't think it's an actual thing right now. I just think it's kind of one of those wishful thinking.
It's definitely wishful thinking at the moment. I don't think there's any legs at the moment with this. I don't think there's any legs with Jimmy Garoppolo at the moment. It seems like teams are just kind of waiting things out. They're doing their due diligence on the quarterbacks coming out in the draft. They're doing due diligence on free agent quarterbacks, and they're waiting for Jimmy to be healthy and get cleared. I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of teams want to see him pass a physical before they start engaging, like serious engaging in conversations. And in a surprising turn of events, Ant, I think the 49ers kind of anticipated it. Here's the thing I want to ask you, and Cutback Crew, you can comment about this as well, and we can have a little bit of a discussion about this. Do you think there is any actual water, to the discussions and the idea that the 49ers are upset with Jimmy Garoppolo and his agent for the timing of said thing? You and I have talked about this before, but it keeps coming up. People keep saying this is the reality. This is what's happened. They are legitimately pissed off. I can't wrap my head around this because I understand how rehab works as someone who worked at a literal athletic training rehabilitation place where normal people every day who aren't athletes come in, as well as athletes coming in for rehab off of surgery and stuff. If a guy has an injury or some sort of tear or ligament damage, or female, doesn't matter who, a person has some sort of injury, and they come in and they're trying to avoid surgery, and you've talked about this before as well, trying to avoid surgery, you go through rehab. If rehab's not working or it's not helping make things better or improve, then the next logical step is obviously surgery. And some people are going, well, a month, you need a month to figure that out? Yes, you need a month to figure that out.
Yeah, at the least.
At the very minimum, right? Do you think that this is just people trying to drum up things to talk about? Do you think there's actually any frustration coming from the actual San Francisco 49ers on this? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
There could be frustration, but one thing I'll say is it's just frustration with the situation, not so much with Jimmy Garoppolo or his agent. Because I believe that, when it comes down to it, you have rehabilitation for a certain amount of time. But if he wouldn't have had the surgery done, he wouldn't have been ready for training camp. So we had to make a decision. And so they waited the month. They were hoping that they were going to see more progress coming from it. There wasn't the progress. So they went ahead and moved forward with the surgery. It's a decision to be able to be made so that way he could be available to play in the 2022 season. Because if you waited another month, another 6 weeks, and the rehabilitation wasn't taking, then he would have the surgery then, and he would have missed the first part of the season. That could have went to hurt not only the 49ers, but hurt him as well. So he was making a decision, the best decision for him. This is no different than what happened with Raheem Mostert, where he decided to go with a different surgery than one that would have brought him back for the season because he was betting on him going into free agency.
True.
So I think that sometimes these players do make these kind of decisions. But I think you're more frustrated, the team-wise, more frustrated with the situation and not so much with the player deciding to do something that you ultimately know he had to do at the time.
I feel with you there, and I agree with you on that. Richie James is gone, so our Super Bowl window has just closed, said Seeds. I wasn't surprised to see Richie James go. Did he land with the Giants? Is that the team?
Richie James went to the Giants.
So the Giants have now taken Dante Pettis and Richie James from San Francisco. Interesting landing spots for both guys.
It's a little bit different now, though, with Dabble being the head coach. There's going to be a different offense there than you've seen under Joe Judge. So I think it's a better situation for him, for sure.
I think just about anything is a better situation than what's going on with Judge Ant running quarterback sneaks on 3rd and 9 from your own 10.
There you go.
I mean, that's not great. It's definitely not great there. Looks like the 49ers trust Aaron Banks to Sacktown Izzy, and you know what, Sacktown Izzy, you're not wrong. The Niners haven't made an O-line move other than Brendel, right? And the tender for Mr. Daniel Brunskill. Other than that, there hasn't been a lot of movement or even necessarily conversations around names or them bringing in guys and trying to offer and extend contracts out. They may feel very good about the guys they have in their room. We've been saying this, and a lot of people were like, no, there's no way. It could just be the case. They think that Aaron Banks has come a long way and developed enough, and they think they have something good going into the start of next season. They also may feel the same exact way about Jalen Moore. And in all honesty, I think the biggest thing here for me is if they were really concerned about Mike McGlinchey's injury in terms of him not being ready to go by the start of season, they definitely would have made some sort of move with some sort of free agent to shore things up, possibly even Tom Compton, paying him that money and bringing him back into San Francisco. The fact that they haven't, I think it shows they have a lot of confidence in their young guys Banks has been in the building since essentially the season ended, and guys like McGlinchey who are coming off of a big injury.
Yeah, the belief is obviously that the guys inside the building are going to be, ready to step up and take hold of this. Whether it could be Jalen Moore, as simple as Jalen Moore playing right tackle if McGlinchey's not ready. But yeah, Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks, Colton McKivitz, Justin Skule. I mean, these guys are players that they've put draft picks into over the last few seasons, and they're going to expect them. But we don't know what the actual belief is, right? We don't know that it's Aaron Banks, per se, that is going to be, listed as a starting guard. It's just, you would read the tea leaves and believe a second-round pick could develop into a starter. Daniel Brunskill will be back. I think he's going to be competing for the starting right guard spot. And then you have to decide if it's Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks, but I wouldn't put it past Jalen Moore actually being the one that starts at guard. So right now, I think we just don't know, but I think Banks would be the leader in the clubhouse. So it would make sense for next year going into the season for Brunskill to play right guard and Banks to play left guard. But we'll see what happens, because I think honestly right now there's just no way to know, because we haven't seen Banks since since last year, not even in game time situations, but in training camp.
Very accurate, Ant. Very accurate indeed on that. And look, Tommy just said it. I knew Hyder wouldn't do jack squat in Seattle. I'm the one who's I'm the one who went live for that episode, Ant.
Yeah.
So we haven't really got to hear from you on the Kerry Hyder signing and how you feel about this. I have a feeling I have a good inkling of where you're leaning on this. But when you saw the news, when you heard the news, what was your instant thoughts and reactions?
That's what I expected to happen. Yeah. I think as soon as he got cut from Seattle, in fact, I think I was live when they cut Kerry Hyder and Carlos Dunlap.
You were.
And so I remember thinking at the moment, like, okay, that's great for the 49ers because Arden Key is on a full tour. He was in Kansas City now.
Still is.
He's looking for the contract that he wants. The 49ers are not banking on Arden Key coming back, so they went and got Kerry Hyder. And Kerry Hyder had a better season than Arden Key did. Playing in 2020, he had more sacks. He had 2 more sacks than Arden Key. I think they're different type of players. I think Arden Key is a lot quicker. He definitely has a better pass rush moves, but I believe that Kerry Hyder's a better base 4-3 defensive end playing against the run. The question with it is athleticism. But if you're talking about a guy that can slide inside on obvious pass downs, Kerry Hyder's that guy, and I think that's what they originally got him for in 2020. So he's going to fill the same role that Arden Key was filling last year. And who knows? You don't know what Arden Key's number is going to be. And I know it sounds crazy, but there's still potential the 49ers would bring him back if someone's not willing to give him the contract he's out there seeking and just roll it back with even a more stacked, rotation of defensive linemen. So I'm not putting that out of the question yet, but I'm definitely glad that Kerry Hyder's back because as a rotational piece, that's solid. And with the fact that you got Jordan Willis, you got Charles Omenihu backing up Nick Bosa and Samson Ebukam, very solid on the inside, which means you don't have to have Kinlaw out there rushing the passer. You don't have to have Kevin Givens rushing the passer. It also means more of a rotation for Armstead as well, keeping him fresher as he continues to age a little bit on this defensive line. But yeah, right now it sounds really good. They're 11 deep right now.
They really are.
Yeah,
they really are, and they got 13 guys currently under contract. I still think they'll probably get that number to 14, maybe 15. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what the Niners decide to do. But Ant, you were right. As soon as it happened, and I hopped on, I was like, man, it just feels like this is the goodbye for Arden Key. Arden Key was the Kerry Hyder replacement, and then vice versa. Arden Key does big things, is going to probably go get paid unless someone decides not to give him what he's looking for, and then he could end up back with San Francisco.
Or at least in 2023.
No, at least in 2023. I mean, you're not wrong. But here's the thing, man. Chris Kasarik just knows what to do with that, man. He really does. Anytime he's been with Chris Kasarik, it's close to double-digit sack numbers, and anytime it's not with Chris Kasarik, it's non-factor. It's people do not know. Other coaches in the league do not know how to use Kerry Hyder the way Chris Kasarik knows how to use Kerry Hyder, and it's also a scheme fit as well.
Yeah, Kerry Hyder talked about it a little bit, and he said it's as simple as Coach Kasarik trusts him and lets him go out there and play with freedom. That's what he said. It's that simple. And I think that he does know how to use him, and he knows how to put him in the right situations. But I mean, the fact he had, I believe it was 8.5 sacks with the 49ers. I mean, in 2020, that's a good sign for the Niners. I mean, because that's a rotational piece. And we already think Charles Omenihu, just the small glimpses we saw of him last year, he's going to elevate his game to another level. He's a talented guy. Jordan Willis playing all 17 games, could elevate his number a lot.
True.
These guys have a lot of potential. This could be the deepest 49ers defensive line. Kinlaw is a big question.
That's saying something.
And Kinlaw is a big question, and I know he was on with Brad with the SF Niners.
It was.
Kinlaw was saying he's feeling healthy. That's good. He's got to prove it now. He's got to be in there and be healthy. But they're only going to ask him to be a 2-down nose tackle. So they're going to have a lot of guys that can go in there and rotate with him, and he's not going to be asked to rush the passer. This could be a really good situation for him. So early down rushing from Kinlaw, but really when he gets to 3rd and long, he's not going to be out there. So I think that's a good sign for the Niners.
I agree with you. I think it's a very good sign for San Francisco. I like the possibilities and the potentiality there, and I love the idea of being able to not overwork Javon Kinlaw. Right now, with all the knee stuff and all the injuries he's been having the first couple of years in the league, if we can find a way to not get him off the field, but just limit the amount of wear and tear he's putting on his body, the better. The better it is for San Francisco, the better it is for his team, and it's better, especially if you have the rotation where you don't lose a whole lot, which I think we have that at this point.
Well, definitely have a good rotation now. In fact, with the fact Ridgeway is there as well. Exactly. So Javon Kinlaw is going to be coming off the field. He's definitely going to play less snaps than he played in his rookie season. So that means he can stay healthy, and that's part of the key. But what you need is those impactful plays when he's in there. He needs to go in there and make an impact because, I mean, that's the reason they drafted him. They went out there and got him to make an impact on this team. So far, he hasn't done it. Let's see what happens also, him changing positions and going from a 3-tech to a nose tackle and seeing if that helps him as well. It's a different role. It's not something he was actually, built to play, but he played it at South Carolina, so he's experienced doing that as well.
Very true, Ant. Very true. Seed said, I heard Alex Mack is going to get married. Yes, I think they're doing that currently at the moment. I know Juszczyk and Kittle are all out there having a good old time, having fun with that. So congrats to Mr. Mack. And I'm excited for us officially finding out whether or not Alex Mack will be back with San Francisco, but all signs are pointing that way at this point in time.
Yeah, I think so. I think he would, or the 49ers would have made a move. Plus, you would have probably started hearing about Alex Mack retiring post June 1 and them going after like a JC Treader or something like that to go ahead and fill that role, because I do believe Kyle Shanahan would like to have a veteran center. So that would make sense. I think he's going to come back for another year. I think he always planned on playing 2 years. However, if they had won a Super Bowl, I believe he would have walked off into the sunset after this season, but that didn't happen, so he's going to come back and give it another whirl.
Very true. And David Campbell, did anyone warn Mac's wife about the sweaty situation on the behind?
I'm sure she's very aware of it.
She has to be.
And I'm guessing there's some jokes that go along with it as well.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance.
I am glad that we don't have to worry about the sweaty cheeks gate like we were dealing with in training camp last year.
Dude, that towel he was wearing too was gigantic.
It was huge. It was
huge. I don't think I'd ever seen a towel that big other than a rain game.
Yeah,
like you see it on rain games. You don't see it in the middle of summer.
Yeah, he had a full beach towel out there. Yeah,
for reals. Has Key signed yet? Says Ian. No, he has not.
No, he's been making the run. He's been
Kansas City today, right?
Jacksonville. He's been to Baltimore. Now he's in Kansas City. Yeah, I mean, everyone is whining and dining him, but so far he must not have heard the number that he's looking for because he just keeps moving around. This is kind of similar to what you heard from K1 Williams last year. K1 Williams is kind of going from place to place, including Kansas City.
True.
And he was in Kansas City, and all reports are he's probably going to land in Kansas City, and then he came back to the Niners. So, I mean, the longer it plays out, the more of an opportunity for him to come back. But they've definitely covered the fact they don't have to have Arden Key back. So it would have to be at a number that they wanted, not the number that Arden Key wants, but the number the 49ers want, which we know is going to be absolutely a friendly number to the salary cap.
It is?
It has to be. Yeah.
Why? Does the Niners like not have cap space or something? That something's going on?
Maybe.
Oh. Man, if only we just got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo.
They sure are getting a lot done for not having cap space.
I mean, for a team not having a lot of cap room, Ant, and how the Niners going to sign anybody, they've found a way to sign a handful of guys.
Yeah.
At the bargain basement number, which I just love. I love the bargain basement number.
I do too. You know, and that's one of the big conversations that was going on Twitter today between David Lombardi and Akash was the possibility of Jaquiski Tartt coming back on a very cheap deal.
That's right.
You know, an exemption deal that could cost the 49ers a little over $1 million, but pay Tartt close to $2.5 million.
That was wonderful vet exemption.
Yeah, and that would be an increase on what he made last year. So it would actually be a pay increase for him to come back. I think that's interesting and something to watch. There are teams that are and fans of this team that do not want Jaquiski Tartt back for any reason. But I'd bring him back and let him compete with some of the guys we currently have. That would definitely make it so you don't have to draft a safety in this draft. There will be good ones. I mean, I did a mock draft today where I drafted Jalen Petrie. I know that'll make people happy.
Ooh, that is going to make a lot of people very, very happy. Matter of fact, while we're talking about Jaquiski Tartt, I'll put up a poll for the Cutback crew to vote on whether or not you would bring back Jaquiski Tartt, re-sign him on a vet minimum exemption salary. They have used this to their advantage in a huge way this year, Ant. They really have. More than I think they have in most other years with this free agency group. What did I miss?
The super chat.
Outstanding work once again. Thank you, Cutback crew. Ray Wershing says, Ayo.
Yeah, because 49ers George 365 has the Ray Wershing picture. It's fantastic.
It's glorious.
I wonder how 49ers George 365 thinks about possibility of Ray McLeod wearing 14 for the 49ers.
Are you excited to see Ant in his Ray McLeod jersey?
That's right, my Ray McLeod jersey.
Because that's totally what it is.
1,000%.
It's not anything else.
Why would it be anything else?
It can't be anything else.
No, I mean, I can't believe
you ordered it as soon as Ray McLeod got signed.
That's right.
Hey, yo.
Literally.
Yeah.
So 49ers George, thank you for that $4.99 super chat, my guy. We always love ourselves some Ray Wershing AOs. How you doing, TCC? Asked Joel. We're doing good, man.
Yeah, what's up, Joel? How's it going?
It's been an interesting week. It's been a fun week. The Niners made some surprising flurry of signings, which we didn't really expect to see a whole heck of a lot of. I didn't expect the flurry.
I mean, we were on live together. The last time we were actually on live together,
it's true.
I said I don't expect there to be a flurry of moves, and then cue flurry of moves.
Literally the next day.
I'm just going to start speaking things into existence by saying I don't expect them to happen. I don't expect them to trade for Brandon Cooks.
Okay.
So let it be so.
I don't expect them. I don't expect them to come in at the 11th hour and sign Bobby Wagner.
Oh, I don't think Bobby Wagner's in Baltimore, by the way.
He is in Baltimore. That is actually a very likely landing spot.
Let's do that.
Please.
Yeah, I'm very good.
Go to the AFC.
Yeah.
Go to the AFC.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see you twice a year. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
But like we will have we will get on and celebrate. I know I will get on and celebrate if Bobby Wagner goes to the AFC, man.
That's solid. That'd be good,
just absolutely glorious, my guy. Absolutely glorious indeed. By the way, 49ers George, I approve. He approves.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Of the Ray McLeod 14.
Well, then Ray McLeod can finally decide on 14 then. I mean, we had to get George to be the one that did it.
So there we go. I mean, there it is.
George comes through for Ray McLeod. We appreciate it.
We do.
Yeah.
Eric Dane, this draft seems deep at all the positions the 49ers need. Edge rusher, interior O-line, safety, wide receiver. It does feel like there are some good guys at a lot of those spots.
Yeah.
I really do feel that way. Edge rusher and wide receiver are probably my two favorite in terms of depth at the moment. And I think that's a positive thing for San Francisco because it means you don't have to necessarily go early, although there are a couple of guys that I would absolutely love for them to go a little bit earlier on. But that just means that there's a lot of value late as well, especially if you feel like there's someone who comes in and fits your scheme right away.
Yeah, and I've noticed that some of them have started updating because Ajabo made it all the way into the late second round mock draft.
Okay,
so people are letting that happen now. 49ers also, Adam Peters and John Lynch over at Penn State, pro day, checking out their talent. AK out there, Dotson out there. I was trying to think, Ferkster out there. So they got a lot of players that the 49ers could be interested in. So the Niners going to looking at a safety, wide receiver, and defensive end, maybe they'd be interested in. So that's something to watch. Anytime Adam Peters ends up somewhere, I'm always curious which players, because he's one of those guys that gets very high on a player and will pound the table to bring them in. And we know he did that about Ambry Thomas last year.
That he did. He's pounded on that table hard, pounded that table hard in a big, huge way. So look, I'm excited to see what the Niners are doing. I did also just enjoy them being at, sending the big dogs to a couple of pro days where there's some guys there that I really, really like. Penn State was one of them where they sent some of their bigger names, and I know Lynch was there in person himself. And there's a couple guys from Penn State that I really like. One in particular that you and I have talked about quite a bit. So yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited about what that means. I'm excited about what this means for the Niners in terms of who they're going to go after and who they're going to take. It's going to be interesting. Talanoa Hufanga is a beast. Why is he not a lock for the starting safety if Tart leaves, says Android user?
Because of his coverage skills. He's still one of those guys that struggles when he's playing the deep third. He doesn't always close on the football. He gets mixed up in coverages a little bit. There are things he needs to work on that need to be improved, and this is not something that is a surprise. It was something that happened in college. In fact, if you remember, Alex, he was one of the reasons I thought maybe he didn't fit the scheme. Because I was worried about his coverage skills. Him playing in the box and playing a more linebacker hybrid role fit him perfectly, but him playing in coverage was shocking. And that's why sometimes in the games when the 49ers would get him and Deommodore Lenoir on the same side, it was just scary. So I think he's got to make some improvement in that area. Can he make improvement? Absolutely, he can. But right now, that's what scares everyone about Hufanga. Hufanga is not at the level of Tart or even Tarvarius Moore of playing the safety position in coverage.
It's not a strength. Playing the coverage is not a strength. Now, don't get me wrong. Is he a piece you can throw in cover 3 situations and play the deep third? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But if you're asking him to cover over the middle of the field at times, just technique stuff and the way he positions himself and plays on the ball, it's not the same as Jaquiski Tartt. It really isn't. And it's not as smooth and solid when he comes up in the box. Now, don't get me wrong. He plays nice in the box. But it's not the same as Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt.
No, those two are at a different level.
They feel better. They rap better. Everything about the way that they come downhill, too, is better. But Talanoa Hufanga has a lot of promise and potential. It may just be another year before we're at that spot where it's like, hey, this guy is ready. This is his job.
Yeah, and I got to say this. Brad Jones says, did they go to the Jackson State Pro Day because Deion was pissed more teams didn't come? Yeah, they did. They sent somebody to the Jackson State Pro Day. So, yeah, the 49ers did that. They weren't on the list of teams that were named that didn't send anyone to Jackson State, but I thought that was funny. That's why I want to go ahead and read that.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And Deion's going to remember that.
Oh, he said you're going to have to send him someday. He said you're going to have to because he knows he's going to go get a lot of NFL talent to go to Jackson State.
So. And he's already getting a bunch of NFL talent to go to Jackson State.
Sure.
Not Android user Grimace 1986 says, was anyone surprised Dante Johnson re-signing with a little bit of a laughing face? No, Dante Johnson has always been connected with San Francisco and feels like he always will be, Ant.
Yeah, one of my opening lines on the live stream was death, taxes, and Dante Johnson being a 49er.
It's true.
He's going into his 9th season, and I think that has to go to show, what he is about, how hard he works and what people think about him in that locker room. And, of course, in this organization, because you don't stick around in the NFL for 9 years unless you have some ability and have some talent. So I think he does. He has flexibility. And last year, he proved to have a lot of versatility, being able to play safety as well.
True.
If you can play the nickel, play outside, and then play safety, that's somebody that you want on your team. Because then when you get into situations like the Niners did, where they got down 2 safeties, Hufanga and Tart both go down in the same game, Dante Johnson goes in. And this is not like any game. Week 18, must-win playoff game. Dante Johnson lines up at safety and gets it done for your team. That's the kind of player you want on your roster. And I think it's funny that the 2 unsung heroes of that game are Dante Johnson and Darqueze Dennard, and both of them get signed in the last 48 hours.
Very true. And in a shocking turn of events, the Niners like themselves guys they can rely on and count on and have played well in big spots, and both guys did in that Week 18 game. Big, like that, really do. Baymax says Hufanga sucks because of athleticism and will be replacing Harris eventually. He thinks he's going to be making the move interior to linebacker, which is something actually you and I thought may be in the cards for Hufanga, seeing as we had some concerns about his coverage skills, but as of right now, it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hufanga could eventually take over as a starting safety, but it's going to take some time to develop. We have other guys right now that I believe are a little bit ahead, but I think he's going to come in and compete. If Tart comes back, I would think that Tart and Ward would be the the obvious choices to start. Then Tarvarius Moore next. Well, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with George Odom either, because we haven't seen him play consistently, play in and play out. But a guy that hasn't missed a tackle in the box, a guy that is proven to be a ball hawk, he's interesting.
Very much the case. And Grimace.
Yeah, thanks, Grimace.
One more for the good guys. We appreciate that, man. Thank you, and welcome to the Cutback crew. I did see there was a Raiders fan in here, Ant, and Tommy Huxley, and a couple of the TCC day ones are they're giving it to him. Nelson Pick Mullins, 38-3, 34-3 Niners with Pick Mullins. Yeah, don't come in here. Nick Mullins is that. How do you live that down?
I mean, we're about to have a different moment coming up because they're about to play each other.
It's true.
So we'll see. We'll see what's up. But the one thing Raider fans got to remember, Devontae Adams, he doesn't beat the 49ers in the playoffs either. So
it's true. Now, luckily for the Raiders, it is the regular season, so there's that.
Yeah.
There's that. Definitely that. Andrew, you just said Dante seemed to get a lot skinnier this past season, got more lean, could have helped his agility. I think it might have. I think it definitely might have. Athletes are always looking for ways to improve and build upon, what they bring to the table. So leaning out and getting a little thinner and getting yourself into a little bit better shape to be able to play at the speed you want to play at, move the way you want to move. It also makes him more dynamic and more diverse. It allows him to play in the different spots that he showed he can play in.
He's also getting older. As you get older, you want to make sure that you're, keeping lean muscle and losing some of that, heavy stuff that is going to affect your joints and affect how you play. So, I mean, this is just something that's to be expected. But, yeah, Dante Johnson, he looked pretty good last year. It wasn't one of those guys, of course, that you're like, oh, man, this guy's going to be dynamic and start for us. But, in a pinch, he can go in there and get it done, and he's gonna do the best that he can. And the main part of it that is the most exciting is people like Fred Warner coming out and talking about his intelligence and that he knows where he's supposed to be at all times. Understanding scheme and understanding your responsibilities can't be ignored. That's huge. You need guys that you can count on, that they're going to be in the right spots at the right time, and his teammates count on him. And that should go a long way, especially at the amount that he makes. He doesn't make a lot of money, but he's got a lot of value for the 49ers.
Very true, and very true indeed. Now, I wanted to bring this up to you in the Cutback crew because I've been seeing this a lot recently from 49ers fans in the Facebook groups. A lot of people are coming out and saying they feel the Niners have gotten worse in free agency. Not better, worse. Okay. And it's mostly because of O-line. They have not necessarily signed or improved on the O-line, and some people think that the loss of Laken Tomlinson, basically downgrades the O-line to levels, undreamt of, unseen for San Francisco. I know you don't feel that way. I know I don't feel that way. Look, at the end of the day, it's a question. It's a concern. It's a valid concern, feeling like maybe the O-line has maybe taken a step back.
Right.
But we don't know for sure one way or the other. I think if the Niners were truly concerned, and this is why you have to try and, to an extent, trust the coaching staff that's in place, trust the front office, because they're looking at this roster, the pieces they have, what they can and can't do, the flexibility with the cap space, et cetera, in order to shore up every position, right? Because team sport and a shocking turn of events and development, you want to be strong as possible, the strongest you can possibly be at every spot. You don't want to have to try and pick and choose if you can help it. The fact that the Niners are spending and investing at the cornerback room makes me feel and gives me the warm fuzzies on the inside that maybe they believe that this O-line isn't as bad as people perceive it to be.
I think that their moves are gonna signal that, but I think that people definitely can have that thought process.
Agreed.
You lost Laken Tomlinson and you're replacing him with an unknown. So I think that you were already concerned about Daniel Brunskill's abilities. You figure Brunskill's going to be back, and if Brunskill's back, he's more than likely going to start. I think your hope is that it's going to be Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore that start at the guards, that both of them have improved enough to be capable to play the guard spots, and then Daniel Brunskill is your sixth offensive lineman. In a perfect world, I think in that case, you've improved the room. But you could not effectively pay Laken Tomlinson $13 million a year and then be able to build the roster you're currently building. Our defensive line wouldn't be as good as it is right now if you would sign Laken Tomlinson. You would have had to make concessions. So, yeah, we've lost players. And the 49ers are going to have to find, ways to bring in players or develop players. And really, that's what the Niners have been about. It's about drafting and developing. Most of the big-time players for the 49ers have been drafted and developed. If they did that with Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks and Colton McKivitz and Justin Skule, then Chris Forrester and these guys are going to have this offensive line ready to go. And it could be a step back, but how big of a step back? And then as far as when it gets to it, could our quarterback actually take some of the pressure off of them in the long run? And
Possibly.
In that case, the offensive line benefits from it. It's going to be something interesting to watch for sure.
And look, this is why I brought it up, because immediately we bring this topic up, and we got a lot of different people feeling a lot of different ways. Tommy Huxley, Tomlinson was a big loss. Baymack, this line is at worst 15th in the NFL, so he's giving them basically over the midway point, a top half grade. Guys like Sir Juju, indeed, big loss. Mr. Corey, how have we gotten worse? ? All we did was lose DJ Jones, Tomlinson, K'Wan Williams, and probably Tart, and gained, outside of Travarius Ward, nothing, right? So there's a lot of different thought processes and feels about how free agency has gone. I understand it completely. It does feel like, though, that the front office and the coaching staff believes we have the guys that we can develop in the room already. We believe in these guys. Very similar situation with the cornerback room last year, right? You went and drafted 2 young guys. You didn't make the big move in free agency, and people were like, oh my God, we have this fat hole at cornerback. You can't say it didn't work out for San Francisco. It was definitely shaky there at times, especially when Jason Verrett went down. Yeah. K1 goes down early in the season. Emmanuel Mosley starts the year down. But the shakiness ends up evening itself out at some point during last season. Definitely gets to a little bit more solid place. Aubrey Thomas elevates. Diamond Lenore fills in well at the start of the year. And you end up getting to an NFC championship game. So I think this team and the coaching staff at times, you have to take risks with your roster somewhere. There's always going to be a risk somewhere that you take. Maybe this year it's O-line.
It's definitely appearing to be O-line. I mean, there's just no way to know before the season starts if Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, and these guys are going to be capable starters. We just don't know. We're not privy to that information. We haven't saw them practice in weeks. In fact, nobody has saw them practice. So that's the thing. It's just no one's going to know. So yeah, on face value right now, I could get why everyone sees it and is like, yeah, offensive line, definitely a step back. This team has gotten worse. If Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore are able to step up and play, then I think everyone is going to feel confident in the future about the 49ers being able to develop their players to take those spots. But right now, yeah, they're question marks. I think the same question marks that surround every rookie player that is stepping into a starting role eventually is like, you just don't know unless you've seen it. So we're just going to have to wait and be patient and see what happens. But I get where everyone's coming from.
Yeah, agreed with you there, Lou. Hey, hello all. How you doing, good sir? Eric Dane a little earlier said, I just had an idea. Let's draft a quarterback late in the draft to be the backup. Sudfeld is more like Lance's assistant than a true backup. You and I both said when you saw the money for Sudfeld, it felt like that was the route. But there is a possibility that the Niners may actually draft a guy very late in this draft just to kind of fill up the room, and he maybe ends up being a practice squad guy.
Yeah, I think they would draft somebody potentially in one of the late picks. One of those 6th round picks, or even the 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant.
If they held on to it?
Yeah, if they held on to it, and draft a player that they could have as the 3rd quarterback that is on the practice squad. The same thing they did with Sudfeld, now just with a younger guy. I think Sudfeld getting $2 million guarantees that he's going to be on this roster this year. Unless for some reason they have Jimmy Garoppolo on this roster. If that's the case, you would think that they would have to do something with Sudfeld, but $2 million guaranteed seems like it's money that Sudfeld is going to be on the team.
It does feel that way, and it definitely does. The quarterback situation in and of itself is just kind of an interesting question mark, just because, will you hold on to Jimmy Garoppolo as a $25 million backup? If the answer to that question is no, then are you cutting him, or is he starting? Is the only other thing that you can ask, because those are the only other possibilities for Jimmy Garoppolo.
You think it's cutting or starting? You don't think it's him being a backup?
No. I'm saying if you're someone who's sitting there looking at the situation going, you're not paying him $25 million to be a backup, I don't see that happening, then you're either cutting him or he's the starting quarterback. And in that case, I think there is I know there's a hefty section of the fan base that is going to absolutely lose it.
Yeah,
if he starts.
No, I think so as well. I don't think he's starting. But I am not resigned to the fact that I believe there's a potential now for him to be on this roster the way that they're operating. We'll see. We'll definitely see. And then I seen Lou asking what our thoughts are on Justin Skule. I think Justin Skule is somebody that I was waiting to see his development last year. I thought he was in prime position to be a swing tackle for the Niners. But with the injury, you just don't know what that development's going to be. I've seen some videos of him, getting back in shape and working out, and he seems to be full strength again. But we'll see what that ability is going to show out on the field. And with Jalen Moore coming on and being in his 2nd season, and Colton McKivitz pushing to be on the roster as well, there's no guarantee Justin Skule makes this team.
No.
So I think he's going to have to be flexible. There's the potential for him to move and slide inside the guard. So we'll see. If Moore is going to be in contention for the starting guard position, then Justin Skule definitely has a chance to be the swing tackle.
That is very accurate, and he definitely would have the opportunity and the potentiality to be that for this team. Let's see, Melvin Credford here. It doesn't make any sense to skimp on O-line just because your quarterback is mobile. Kyle wants his quarterback to play from the pocket. Rollouts are great, but you can't make a living at it and expect to succeed. I don't think it's at the expense of the O-line. I think it's you understand what your O-line is. You understand what the strength is. You're looking for guys who fill that run blocking need so you can establish that run game. And we've seen, right, Mike McGlinchey, some issues with pass pro sets, but phenomenal in the run blocking game. Tom Compton, when he comes over and takes over for Mike McGlinchey, grades out as the second best run blocking tackle in all football behind Trent Williams. That's the second year in a row now that has happened. Someone behind Trent Williams being a 49ers right tackle, grading out as the next best run blocker, but struggles in pass pro sets. The Niners give up a little bit in the pass pro set with their tackles, and occasionally with their guards. We saw Brunskill having some issues and some struggles last year as well. Mack struggled a little bit early in the season, but definitely dialed in late. They'll sacrifice a little bit with the O-line in order to make sure that they have guys who are solidified as talented run blockers that can get the job done. That's what they're looking for there. So will the Niners skimp on the O-line? I don't know if they're going to skimp on the O-line, but they're willing to have some concessions in terms of maybe not having as much success with pass pro guys out there on the field if you can dominate in the run game.
Well, let's talk about what we know. We know that Daniel Brunskill has been valued as a starting offensive guard for the San Francisco 49ers.
Accurate.
2020, 2021, they saw him as a starting guard. They have tendered him for $2.4 million. The expectation is he's going to come back. If he's a starting guard, I think they feel like that's taken care of. So that's not really skimping in their eyes. And then as far as skimping goes, you put a second-round pick into Aaron Banks. That is draft capital. That is investing in your offensive line. It's just someone that you didn't get to see last year. So it feels like it's skimping because you haven't seen him develop yet, but that doesn't mean that's the case. So they've actually used capital on the offensive line for a few years now. They thought Colton McKivitz had the ability to actually start at left tackle if they wouldn't have got Trent Williams. So I think that's the case. I think the case is they're thinking Daniel Brunskill is going to start a guard and Aaron Banks is going to start a guard. And in that case, you have an investment of a guy that has started for 2 years for you at the right guard spot, and you think he's a valuable member of your team. And then Aaron Banks, who you invested a second-round pick in. So, I mean, if this would have been Aaron Banks getting drafted this year and he was stepping straight in to start, I don't think there would be as many concerns. But because he didn't start over Daniel Brunskill last year, people are concerned about his development.
And I get that. I understand that a lot because there was a lot of conversation going into last year that you just drafted your right guard of the future and, hey, Daniel Brunskill sliding over to the 6th spot and, everyone we talked to. I mean, we talked to Cutback crew members. We talked to John Chapman. We talked to Tyler Menting, Football Unlocked. A lot of people were expecting that to be the case, that Banks was now your future at that spot. And Brunskill was sliding and on his way out. And I held pretty steadfast that I thought, at the moment, it felt like Brunskill, it was his job to lose. And we went to training camp and it was like, it is definitely Brunskill's job to lose at this point in time.
Yeah.
But Banks has definitely elevated and improved. He went from not being an active 53-man roster guy for most of the year to being on the active 53-man roster and one of the first guys they were going to have to turn to if something were to happen on the interior and injuries started piling up. So I think he's definitely taken a step in the right direction. And I think the Niners are not necessarily rewarding that, but they're feeling like, hey, we made an investment. We took a chance on a guy that wasn't our first option. Definitely wasn't the guy that we were targeting initially in this draft, but is a guy that we felt could develop and turn into something. And he's taken the right steps and progressed. And he's putting in the time. He's been with the team. He's been at the facility, putting in his work. So they have a really good idea of where this guy is. And maybe they feel like their investment may pay off this season.
Yeah, and they can make a further investment in other players. There's still potential free agents out there that they could go get. There's always a chance as well that they address it in the draft and maybe they find somebody that could come in and compete right away. But I think this is possible. But right now, the way it's constituted, it doesn't look good from the outside, but maybe they feel more confident because of what they've seen in practice and development that we're just not privy to right now.
And Tommy, you are accurate. Brad is the one who did the SF Niners, the interview with Kinlaw from Brad Graham from SF Niners. I saw a couple people talking about that, and hey, I was excited to hear stuff like that, and agreed. I'm excited about that as well. Kinlaw is a freak. He's a freak, big, huge, gigantic guy who's a freak athlete in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And the possibilities and potential of his development and what it could add to the D line is huge. We just got to make sure he's healthy. Just got to make sure he's healthy.
Yeah, I think he will stay healthy. He has a better chance to stay healthy, I'll say. Maybe not that he will, but it's a better chance he'll stay healthy because of the rotation that's going to be around him and the players that are going to be with him. So he's not going to be asked to overtask his body. So we'll see. We'll see how he holds up in training camp and preseason. That seems to be a struggle for him so far. And if he's able to get out of it and be able to stay healthy, then he can be an impact for this football team.
He very well could. And Eric Bissell says, so the 49ers need to start 8 cornerbacks straight up, figure out the secondary this year. Enough is enough already. I understand the frustration. There's been a lot of question marks with the secondary. But as of right now, it feels like the outside is secure and set up. At this point, it's just your safety room and your slot corner at the moment.
Yeah, and we don't know how they're looking at the safety room. They have 4 guys right now in the safety room, and you think that one of those guys has the potential to step up and start. You had Tarvarius Moore, who they believed was going to start before the Achilles injury. So, I mean, you think you have some guys that are at least competitive advantage players that can come out there and do some things. But, yeah, the nickel corner spot's still a big glaring need. The 49ers need to fill it. I don't know if they're going to wait for the draft. I would like to think they're going to bring in a veteran, whether that's Jason Verrett or Chris Harris Jr. I'd like to see them do something.
I would love that as well. Lou said, thoughts on Skule? Thought Skule was above McKivitz also, yes or no? It felt like it. It felt like Skule was in line to be the swing tackle last year.
Yeah, it was. I think Skule, there was a really big competition. They had talked about it. It was Justin Skule, Colton McKivitz, and Jalen Moore that were in competition. But Skule was thought to have the heads up. Skule had developed a little bit from 2019 to 2020, and they really thought he was going to assert himself, and then he suffered the injury. So then it came down to McKivitz and Moore beat out McKivitz. Now McKivitz came back after being on the practice squad with a vengeance and actually started over Moore when Trent Williams went down for Week 18. So I think McKivitz has to be thought of in the conversation. But one of these guys is probably going to play the offensive guard. So which one of them is going to get moved down to that spot and be able to compete there? That's something to watch. With McKivitz having the most time spent there, I would say he's the most likely person.
It does feel like that's the most likely scenario there. Rome 33, Eddie D would never let this happen, Ant. He wouldn't. And you know what, Rome, you're not wrong. Eddie D would be spending like crazy.
Yeah, Eddie D would be about winning right now. Eddie D wanted to go into every single season and go all in and win. He hated losing. So yeah, it's a different thing, and that's why we've been bringing up. When is Jed York going to go up to the John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan? It's like, hey, let's go. This is the year we need to go win a Super Bowl. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's this year right now, but it could be next year that he just is like, all right, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of kind of hovering around the NFC Championship. Let's get in there and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. I felt like this was the year, and it felt like this was the year that the Niners could potentially go all in and could make the moves. There was a lot of free agent possibilities. You could free up the money with Jimmy Garoppolo. There was, not only just Jimmy Garoppolo, but restructurings, extensions of a lot of different players. We had crunched the numbers and done some math, and it was looking like you could get yourself close to $50 million or at least in the mid 40s with a bunch of big names out there. And like, okay, well, now you can bring some of these big names in, shore up this roster around a young quarterback, and you know what? Even if Trey Lance doesn't reach his full potential, Ant, if he just plays similar to how Jimmy Garoppolo's played, you're back in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that we haven't had that yet, and it might be the fact that York, has been close a couple of times, right? He's been around and he's done it a couple of different ways with different coaches, right? There was the Harbaugh years and that stuff there, and then he had all these different things as well going on now with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and him being a little bit more not out of the loop, but not necessarily as hands-on or wanting to be involved in the process, really trusting the guys in his front office and the guys that he's brought in to, put a team together and get this team going in the right direction. There's going to become a point where those two versions of him kind of are going to find that middle ground, right? The owner who was overly involved during the Harbaugh years and post-Harbaugh years, and the guy who's kind of taken a step back, in which he goes, hey, I haven't necessarily been involved in terms of like decision-making, but I am going to be involved now with money and availability. Let's do this thing. Let's spend as much as we can. Let's get as many good guys as we can in here, and let's take care of this thing.
Yeah, and Lou is right. It was a different time in salary cap for Eddie spending.
Also true.
Yeah, that's for sure. Everything has changed. It's definitely different. But with the salary cap going up, I'm curious to see, when he decides to go all in, and maybe they're preparing for that. I think they're trying to put the most competitive football team they can right now. So we'll see what they end up getting. But they're getting a lot of players right now that are filling in depth. And I'm feeling more comfortable with it, I think, every single day. I think part of the reason I feel more comfortable, though, is the D-line. The D-line rotation is part of the reason I feel good about it.
Agreed with you. Agreed with you there, my guy. Agreed with you on that. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about Jimmy's dating habits, Ant. They think that's the reason why he was winning football games. Maybe we hook Trey up with one. Says Eric, no, we're good. Just keep Trey Lance focused on football.
I don't think Trey is going to have a hard time finding somebody. But I get the sentiment. You know, maybe that's the key to being undefeated.
Oh my goodness! Tell the Rams it's different time. Look, the Rams. The fact that when Bobby Wagner took his visit, and I was
sure he was
going there. I was like, how is it not going to happen? So the fact that he walked out of there with no contract, means that he feels he can get his value. And the reports that are coming out are that guys like him, guys like Tyrann Mathieu. What the heck's wrong with him?
I don't have a problem with Tyrann Mathieu. That's probably how I would end up saying it.
Mathieu, Wagner, and a couple of other guys, are not very happy with the amount of money that they've been presented in terms of contracts, and are not signing because they are looking to get what they believe they're worth. So these guys have not gotten numbers from teams that they were expecting to get, and are just waiting for something or another piece to fall in order for them to hopefully, not only land somewhere where they want to be, where they can compete, but where someone's going to be compensating them accordingly.
Which makes it interesting that the Carolina Panthers have freed up salary cap space.
It does.
But have not moved on Stephon Gilmore or Tyrann Mathieu, or at least got them to move on, move to them and possibly sign. So that's something to watch as well, because they do have $29 million of cap space. They could easily make a move for a quarterback if they decided. So let's see how that goes. But you're right. These free agents aren't willing right now to come off their big numbers, and at some point they're going to. And all the while, the 49ers are sitting here building a roster and a very in-depth roster. That's the thing about the Los Angeles Rams. They do have a lot of big names. What they don't have is a lot of depth. If they suffer an injury, they're in a world of hurt. And they still have some holes. I mean, they have holes in the secondary now with some of the guys being gone. They have a hole with the second edge rusher. Their linebacker room is in shambles. So I think they've got some moves that they need to make. And right now, it'd probably behoove them to not use that $8 million on one guy like Bobby Wagner, but actually go get an edge rusher and some depth guys. Are the Rams going to actually count on the draft?
Doesn't feel like a very Rams thing to do, right?
It
really doesn't. For everyone listening on the traditional podcast platforms, there was a dramatic pause and eyebrow raise. Look, it doesn't feel like they would do that. It's a little surprising that they haven't been as active. But then again, a lot of teams in the NFC just haven't been. It's been a surprising turn of events with free agency. It really does feel like the tide has shifted, where AFC teams, all of them at once decided this was the moment and this was the time, and they've all stockpiled and loaded. And it feels like the NFC's just been going, you guys, you're gonna everybody. You're gonna pay everyone. Okay. Well, I guess we're just gonna sit tight. I guess that's all we can do. It's a little surprising. Usually there's a little more balance in terms of where these guys land. That hasn't been the case. And it may force a couple of these other AFC teams to get a little desperate and overpay in order to stay relevant. The Ravens felt that they had a good situation. There was Darius Smith. He ends up leaving, walking away, not signing that contract, ends up landing in Minnesota, getting paid what he was looking for. And now the Ravens may be sitting there going, hey, we need to do something. We need to start bringing some guys in. We need to load up, or we're going to be that team that's the odd man out, who felt like they had a potential Super Bowl window and was a team that was a playoff contender, relevant, was near the top of the list. You may find yourself creeping towards the bottom and wild card team.
Yeah, possibly. And we're seeing a lot of great questions coming through, and one of them is from WTM. What position needs are left? I think if you're going to go through it, number one, the most glaring hole that I can see is the nickel corner spot, where you don't really have a guy that you feel comfortable starting with. That's number one. I think you could potentially put safety in there as well. Defensive line and linebacker are completely locked up. You don't need anyone on either one of those spots. Need is not a problem there. Offensive line, you could talk about an upgrade, so that could potentially be a hole that needs to be filled. Running back, with bringing back Jeff Wilson Jr., they don't actually have a hole, so they could potentially look to upgrade. And then same with tight end. I mean, right now, they could roll with Jordan Matthews as the third guy, so they don't exactly have a hole, but they could need an upgrade there as well.
They definitely could, Ant. The holes feel like depth. It feels like depth on the O-line just because we don't necessarily know what we have. Obviously, right now, you can't say hole and not include wide receiver just because you currently only have 3 signed, a 4th on the way with Jawan Jennings.
You also have Keyshawn Johnson and all these guys that they signed for their 90-man roster, Alex. You think that's funny, but River Craycraft was
God, don't remind me about River. Thank God he's in Miami.
River Craycraft was one of the guys that was on the Niners active roster. I just want you to remember that.
So then can we both agree that wide receiver is a hole at the moment and we definitely need to improve the room?
I think they still plan on doing it, but they can definitely address it in the draft.
That they can.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing, is they can definitely address it in the draft, and they don't have to necessarily address it in the first 3 rounds.
No, they can
get guys in 4 and 5.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Danny Gray's just sitting there waiting for the 49ers.
I can't believe he's still sitting in the 6th round in some mock drafts.
Yeah. I know, it's funny. Every day I see somebody else discover him and put it on social media, and it's like,
oh man, welcome. You're a little late to the party, but I'm glad you found it. You made it.
It's fun to join it. It's fun to join the party.
Better late than never. Yeah, better late than never. Andrew, did the Panthers sign a quarterback yet? No, I don't think they've signed a quarterback. They still have Darnold under contract for $18 million. Can you believe that? It's the same as Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. How about that? The fact is Baker Mayfield's probably going to get cut. Maybe Carolina's waiting for that to happen, and they're going to go sign Baker Mayfield. But I think Seattle would also compete for Baker Mayfield's services.
True. Megan just asked, too, any other news on where Baker will land? As of right now, it seems like teams are interested in Baker for not a lot of capital, but what they're not interested in is the contract. They don't want the contract. They're sitting there going, no, we'd be willing to trade you a 5th-round pick if the money didn't look like it did.
Oh, I heard that they were willing to give a 4th for Baker Mayfield and a 5th. It's basically that's what
it's pick swaps.
Yeah,
it's pick swaps, but they don't want the contract.
No.
Oh
yeah.
Oh,
it's rough. It's rough. Yeah, it's rough.
It's rough. I mean, it really is. Baymack, is Debo getting paid? Yes. Training camp. Training camp is when that contract will start getting worked out and finalized, just like it did with George Kittle 2 years ago, just like it did with Fred Warner last year, and when everyone was freaking out about Fred Warner, and we were sitting here going, just patience. Training camp. That's when the Niners make those moves and make those decisions.
Yeah, Deebo Samuel's going to come up. I mean, I think he's going to get his contract extension, but it's going to happen. I know Fred Warner's came up a little bit earlier last year than was expected. Kittle was right before training camp. I fully expect him to get Deebo Samuel under contract and get his deal worked out, but he's about to get paid a big amount of money. So that's going to be a nice financial obligation for the 49ers for years to come, but they definitely need him. There's not a single player that is out there that is Deebo Samuel. So you're not going to find another one of him. In fact, it's going to take 3 guys to do what Deebo Samuel does. So you have to make sure you have him on your team.
That's true. Has Jordan Matthews played it down in any game last season? I don't remember seeing him at all. No, he was on the practice squad.
Yeah.
For a chunk of the year, then was off the practice squad.
No, he was just on the practice squad the whole year.
Was it the whole year? I thought he got cut. He got released at one time, didn't he?
The whole entire year.
Oh, okay. Well,
he stayed on the entire year.
So he got a lot of run and work then at the tight end position, which is what he needed.
He was basically their 4th tight end. Yeah, Jordan Matthews was switching positions, so he was learning how to block and learning how to play a different position, because playing inline as a tight end and the expectations, even the routes, the way you run them, is completely different than playing a receiver. So he was getting the test. We'll see if he developed. He put on the size. So I mean, if he continued to put on more size, he's going to come into the season 235, 240 with potential. I mean, receiving wise, he's a great threat at the tight end position. Just can he block? If he can block consistently at a higher rate than Ross Dwelley, you got to feel like you improved the room.
Yeah, because Ross Dwelley continued to regress as a blocker. I wouldn't say he regressed as a pass catcher, but he didn't improve as a route runner and a pass catching option for the 49ers, but he definitely regressed as a blocking option for San Francisco. That's why Charlie Warner elevated. And ideally what I'd like to see is a continual elevation of Charlie Warner. However, I would like him to be elevating while sitting at tight end 3.
Yeah.
That would be the best situation for the 49ers. Siggy's Light said, any news on Jalen Hurts? Do you mean Jalen Hurts? You mean Jalen Hurd, but you're playing on words with Jalen Hurd being hurt.
Yeah.
As far as Jalen Hurd goes, no, there is no news on him at all whatsoever. No information, and I don't expect there to be at any point in time. The fact that he didn't land anywhere means that he is not healthy. He's not right.
Yeah. I mean, because think about it: Miami, New York. One of them would give him a run if they felt like he could get healthy, because he would fit into their offensive system. They see how they use Deebo Samuel, and he's one of those guys that has that potential. But obviously, he can't stay healthy. He can't get on the field, so you're not going to bring him in unless he can. And like you brought up, Alex, on one of the live streams, it could be the point where maybe he just doesn't want to play anymore. Maybe he's not willing to put that effort in. We won't know until eventually someone either gives him a chance or he just stays away.
That's the reality, and it's a sad one. If that is the case, and he's just had so much negativity, so much, fighting and clawing his way back, and his body continuing to betray him and fail him at every turn, I would just feel for the guy. I really would feel for the guy, because you got yourself there. You got yourself drafted. You had an opportunity, and your body consistently at every turn was just like.
And there's a flurry of questions. Lou said, when does Jimmy's contract become guaranteed? Week 1. Mm-hmm. If Jimmy Garoppolo is on the roster for week 1, his contract will be guaranteed, and the 49ers will have to pay him a little over $22 million. So that's when resolution has to be done.
Very true. Any truth to the hot rumor that the 49ers have signed Ahkello Witherspoon to a 1-year deal? No.
I haven't heard that. I was under the impression.
Yeah, he went to the Steelers, didn't he?
I was under impression he was still signed to the Steelers, but
I thought he had signed that already. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, remember, he wasn't showing up on Sport Track when we looked it up.
That's right. He wasn't showing up on Sport Track.
He was listed as a Pittsburgh Steeler, but for some reason there was no financial details on his contract.
Which is very interesting, Ant. It's very interesting that that's not the case. Ronnie Montoya had asked, too, do you think Cap will land on the Seahawks practice squad? I don't think that Kaepernick would take a practice squad spot.
No. He's coming in to compete. If he signs somewhere, he's coming in to compete as a starting quarterback.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to come to a practice squad. No. So if someone offers him hey, you can come in, you can be guaranteed a practice squad spot, and we'll see what happens, I don't think Cap's taking that.
No. He makes more money working for Nike, not playing in the NFL.
It's true.
So no, he would not take a practice squad salary of a little over $200,000. That's not what he's going to do.
True. And T.O. asking the question that really needs the answers, Ant. What's the buyout on Mayfield's lease at the stadium?
Yeah, I believe it's some popcorn and a really steamy love story in one of his books.
Oh my goodness gracious. God, what are they going to do with those commercials, man? What are you going to do?
Well, I think the first one you do is a moving sale, where they're like coming in and buying stuff, and he moves, and then whatever location he ends up at, you just start filming him there.
True.
Yeah, so
it's true. Did you see the rumor? I don't know if Cutback Crew saw this either, that the Browns, if they can't trade him, are not going to cut him, but instead hold on to him, and because they feel there's a chance Watson gets suspended for the season or for an extended period of time, and Baker plays out the first part of the year, and then they try and trade him after that.
I mean, they could try to do that, but have you met Baker and his toxic personality?
He ain't gonna play.
No, he's about to go full Johnny Manziel on them if they do that. So I don't think that this is something that they want. I don't think Haslam and this ownership really wants that kind of negative personality in the locker room. They need to move on from him. It could just be posturing, Alex, to go ahead and work up a trade market for him, because there's really just not one.
Doesn't believe that is the case either, and it really doesn't believe that there is a market for him. If any of the reports are true about Jimmy Garoppolo and the 2-2s, teams are not in the same boat there.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not. They're not there. Who will the punter be this year? Asked Megan. It's Mitch Wishnowsky.
Mitch Wishnowsky.
It's not anyone but Mitch Wishnowsky.
Yeah,
it has to be.
If for some reason in the 6th round, the guy from San Diego State,
if Ariaz is there.
And they can use a comp pick on him, they could potentially do that and then cut Wishnowsky. That would be something to keep an eye on late, but right now I would think it's Wishnowsky. But there's still potential that could happen. I'm
sorry to say that, Brad Jones. I really am. But if he is there in the 6th round,
yeah,
God, that guy's got a.
Yeah, I mean, Wishnowsky looked good to start the season last year, and then there were some inconsistencies. I believe he was a little banged up, and a little hurt, but yeah, I mean, you always got to keep looking to improve your team, and if that's going to be an improvement, then you consider it, especially when you get the opportunity to have compensatory picks.
Very true, Ant. Very true. Can't restructure. We need all that money, or else we might have to let Bosa walk. There's no world in which the Niners are letting Bosa walk.
No,
Sacktown. There's just not happening.
Well, and the thing is, in 2023, there's a lot of salary cap space. In 2024, there's like barely any contracts on the books. So they have the money for Bosa. They can work it out. That's why they said that he's been budgeted for. But every single day, that money goes up a little bit. But I think that's why Bosa is going to want to wait until, they're more than likely the 49ers are going to exercise his 5th-year option in May, and that you at least know you got him for that for next season as well.
It's very true, Ant. It's very, very true. Baker is better than Jimmy. It's not even close as Mr. Joe. There are some people that feel that way. There are definitely some people that feel that way. They feel he has the athleticism, the age, and all of that stuff. The only, I guess, argument I'll make against that being the case, and what a lot of teams will feel as well, is the amount of success Baker has had. The things that the Browns have done, they haven't been consistent with him as the quarterback there, despite having weapons, despite having a defense, despite having a run game, despite having really no excuses for him to not have success. They have failed at times.
The difference between Baker Mayfield and Jimmy Garoppolo is Jimmy Garoppolo is a proven winner and Baker Mayfield's not. If Baker Mayfield had won playoff games and went to AFC Championship games, I think you could say he has more talent than Jimmy Garoppolo. But part of talent is being able to produce on the field. And right now, Jimmy Garoppolo's teams produce better when he's the quarterback. Some of that could go to leadership, how he handles himself, which Baker Mayfield also struggles. So if you're looking at a team that also is looking to build a certain culture in their locker room, Jimmy Garoppolo is way more appealing than Baker Mayfield.
It's very true. That is accurate, Ant. That is very accurate there, and that's something that teams are weighing and looking at as well with this is, locker room fits, distractions, guys are going to come in and try and, maybe elevate and bring the guys around and make them gel with this group. It's definitely a concern and a question. CG Ruthless Sports asked, should we bring back Arden Key? I think the Niners would love to bring back Arden Key, CG. The problem is just what is that number going to look like? PFF reported $6.25 million before the season started in terms of what that number was going to be and what that market value was going to be. We all know the Niners went to him and gave him a number in terms of what they were willing to pay him, and he's taken the tour. He's going to every team under the sun, it feels like, and every team that is competitive as well. He went to the bargain basement teams who he knows can pay him the money, and now he's going to the teams that are a little bit more, in contention for Super Bowls and opportunities to win. But he hasn't officially signed anything. So if he makes the tour around the league and no one is getting close to a number he wants, then maybe he comes back to San Francisco. But all the moves the Niners have made so far make it seem like they're moving on from Arden Key because they believe someone is going to pay him that money.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to pay him $6.25 million.
Doesn't look like it.
It looks like his money is sagged a little bit, but what it's going to be, I don't know yet. Right now, I still believe he's out of the price range of the San Francisco 49ers. I believe the only way is just that maybe he looks at the situation and is like, you know what, I'm not getting the deal that I want. I'm not going to go to one of these other teams where maybe my production falls off. Let me call San Francisco, go back there for 1 year, and try to maximize my potential to go out and get a better contract next year. Because if I produce at the same level I did this year, maybe I can go find that deal, a la what DJ Jones did. DJ Jones couldn't find the deal he wanted on the open market in 2021, before the 2021 season. So he went back, bet on himself with the Niners on a 1 year deal,
True.
And then turned it into $10 million. So at what point does Arden Key think that is a potential
that might be the best
for
route
him? Yeah, it could be. But right now, when he's making the tour, he is definitely wanted. Just what is that money going to be? And I believe right now he would probably take $4 or $5 million a year to go play for someone on like a 2 year deal. So
I agree. I agree with you there on that.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see. And you know what? I want to talk to you about this, Ant, because there are reports coming out and discussions, and there was all quiet on the Tom Brady front. He comes back and unretires, and he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Ant. But the gentleman I forget who it was, but he's out there in Tampa. He was the one that actually came out before Tom signed with Tampa and said he was going to end up in Tampa Bay, has now also come out, Ant, and said there is a really good chance he lands in Miami, and is citing Rob Gronkowski as the reason why, because he has not re-signed with Tampa. What are your thoughts on this? A couple of people in the Cutback crew have brought this up already throughout the stream.
Okay.
Do you think there is any truth to that? Would it make sense to you? And do you think that is actually a possibility, or is this just much a hubbub about nothing?
The only thing I do know is that all the tea leaves were reading towards Tom Brady and Sean Payton going to Miami during the offseason. Like, Sean Payton left New Orleans, Tom Brady retired. It was all a signal to get to Miami. The one thing I know, though, is that Sean Payton's not there. So does Tom Brady feel comfortable with Mike McDaniel as that player? Now, he would have tremendously more talent on the Miami Dolphins. I mean, the talent is there. He could also have a little bit of a thing of, number one, he'd be playing in Florida, which he already does. But number two, he'd be playing in the AFC East. Could it be, in fact, that he wants to stick it to Bill Belichick a little bit? I don't know. I don't think this ends up happening. I think it is a perfect world scenario where people are enjoying it. But if I'll tell you this right now, Alex. If at some point the 49ers have the opportunity to not have to worry about Tom Brady in the NFC either, because Tom Brady chose to go to the world of the greatest quarterbacks in the league and go to the AFC, I'm 100% helping him. In fact, Tom Brady, call me. I'll move you for free. That's kind of what I'm doing right now.
That is glorious, Anthony. Yeah. You know what? You and I will take a trip out there together to help Tom Brady. We'll take Megan with us since she's a huge Patriots fan and absolutely loves Tom. So, Tom, you'll get to meet a big fan of yours, and you get a free moving company, courtosy of the 49ers Cutback. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but my buddy is a Tampa fan, so I am egging this on every possible way that I can. Anyone that's a Cutback crew member here on YouTube or on Patreon, you know Drew from the Cutback League. Huge Tampa fan. When the report came out, he texted me and said, what's the likelihood of this? Like, do you think there's any legs to this? And read through the article a little bit, and then immediately started giving the Twitter barrage of, oh my God, dude, this could possibly happen. Oh my God, you better start freaking out and panicking. Oh, Jimmy G to Tampa Bay, all of this kind of stuff to freaking. What do you really think this could? Look, could it happen? Yes. Is it likely to happen? I don't know. Probably not. But God, do I want it to happen. And one less quarterback to deal with in the NFC. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm all for it.
I see Joseph Whitebird said, wish we'd sign some offensive linemen to protect the quarterbacks.
A lot of people feel this way.
Yeah.
This is a common theme amongst 49er fans in 49er land is get me some offensive line to protect the young quarterback. I get it. I truly do. The Niners do not feel the same way about this fan base. The fan base does about this. And shockingly enough, in 2020, fans really wanted a corner. The Niners did not do it. It's almost like, I saw someone say this earlier in the chat. I've seen a lot of people tweet this. It's almost like the 49ers front office intentionally spites the fan base sometimes. No, they're not intentionally spiting the fan base.
Right.
But they do believe they have a way to build this roster out. And listen, I'm not going to be someone who starts questioning it now, Ant, because if everyone remembers, 2 of the last 3 years you've been in the NFC title game.
Yeah.
With what a lot of 49ers fans felt like was a limited quarterback in Jimmy
I have
Garoppolo.
to point this out because 49ers Minded, welcome to the chat, by the way. He says he's never heard you laugh like that before. Yeah. There are some times that Alex gets going with some real belly laughs.
Alex is a little loud.
There was one episode, I can't remember which one it was, where, in fact, I know what it was. Nick Mullins and the 49ers offense struggling so much that I started the episode by saying they showed the kind of rhythm that made it seem like me dancing to Vanilla Ice back in the day.
I couldn't get through the episode, dude. I couldn't get through the episode. Yeah. That wasn't even that episode. I remember, and we pre-recorded it, and we had to take about a 10-minute break because I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
it was absolutely glorious.
Hey, Mr. Corey says, "Why does everyone want the NFC weaker? I just don't want Trey's critics to say he had a cakewalk to the Super Bowl.
I'll take a cakewalk to the Super Bowl.
The key is right. He's going to have to beat one of those great AFC teams in the Super Bowl. The way you get there doesn't matter. It's about winning. And let the haters say what they want to say. If Trey gets there and wins the Super Bowl in a weakened NFC, it's not gonna say next to that trophy weaker. It's just not.
It's just gonna say Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, I mean, people can say whatever they want about it, but that's a Super Bowl. So yeah, I mean, if all these players want to go to the AFC and battle it out for one position in the Super Bowl, and you get an easier road, you're definitely not going to complain about it.
Yeah, and Megan with the 49ers Minded all the time. If anyone knows, it's her.
Yeah,
she actually lives with me, so she's got to deal with this loud, obnoxious gentleman over here a lot, Ant, a lot. Drafting O-line, asked Jay Ellie, is possible. I could see them doing that.
Yeah.
The question is who do they go after? What kind of guy?
Oh, there's some good ones.
There are some really good ones, Ant.
Oh yeah,
there are some really good ones.
I'm enjoying the center and guard class, and I think there's also some tackles as well.
There are.
If ever you're going to go offensive line, as far as interior offensive line, this seems like a pretty good draft to do it.
It does.
As far as what fits the 49ers scheme.
Yes, that is the key.
Yeah.
That is the key. We're not just going to start naming names if they don't make sense.
Well, we're not going to get Daniel Falele.
No, we're not getting Daniel Falele.
Why? Because we traded Trenton Brown as soon as the Niners got to San Francisco. Because
as soon as Kyle Shanahan arrived.
Kyle Shanahan got to San Francisco because he doesn't fit the scheme.
Hey, Mr. Brown. Yeah, nice to meet you. Hey, you've done a pretty serviceable job. You're gone. You're out.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and send you to New England. Yeah.
Literally anybody else.
Yeah.
We'll take literally anybody else at this point. Daniel Falele is a name that keeps popping up. I hear a lot of people talking about him in San Francisco land. And look, the measurables are off the chart. The size, the speed. In terms of I've heard people say speed, but I haven't seen speed necessarily. But I hear all the things being said. He just doesn't fit in terms of mobility, what you want a guy to be able to do.
Yeah.
There are some positive things there, but where he's going to go, it's not worth it for San Francisco. It's not worth them to even take a chance on it.
No, definitely not.
That's true. And yeah, Mr. Corey, that was an interesting one earlier when you brought that up about the NFC weaker. I think the idea here is, right, a weak NFC allows for Trey Lance, not just that it's an easier path, but it also allows Trey Lance the opportunity, some wiggle room, right? It gives him that flexibility where he doesn't have to be perfect. If it's easier for Trey Lance early on as a starting quarterback in the NFL, I'm not going to complain about that for a second. Let it be easy. Let it be easy, because that means the confidence is going to be sky high. And if the confidence is sky high, that means the development is going to rapidly ramp up in a huge way.
Well, we say easy. They still have to get through the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams.
In their own division.
Yeah, and also, Kyler Murray in Arizona, who beat the Niners twice last year. Tampa Bay right now with Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers is always up there in Green Bay, so you got that. And you just don't know who's going to come on the scene as well in one of these other locations. New Orleans could, make a big improvement. So, yeah, there's still going to be tough ways to get through. It's tough sledding in the NFL in general. So I don't think it's like one of those things where it's just an easy route to get to the Super Bowl. But, anytime that these players want to leave, and go to the AFC and make it easier, well, do it. That's great.
Please do it. Please do it. Brad Jones, if Brady leaves the NFC, there are seriously 2 good teams and 2 okay teams left. That's what it feels like. Feels like there's just not a lot standing in your way. It means that the NFC is wide open, but not like in previous. Like last year, it felt like any team throughout the league, any team in the NFC other than the Eagles was going to come out of the NFC. Felt like any team really could. And the AFC, it felt the exact same way. This year, it would be like, well, yeah, no, not anybody. Anybody can make the playoffs outside of there's 4 teams that are probably guaranteed a spot. And then the other 3 spots are open for business for the rest of the NFC. But it really does feel like there's just a handful of teams that are your serious contenders. If you're the Niners, the nice thing is this: as frustrated as the fan base are, and I saw HR, if you guys aren't going to question this, I'm out of here. And it's like, okay, that's fine. As much as there hasn't been a lot of movement in terms of free agency and bringing guys in, there hasn't been a lot of movement just in general in the NFC. So you really haven't lost any ground or gained any ground. You're pretty much in the same spot. And if we all forgot, the Niners were 3 points away from going to a Super Bowl. So you're really not that far behind in terms of where you need to be to take the next step.
No, I think that, what I get what HR is saying.
100%.
Right? But what I'll say is that it's not so much about questioning, it's about trying to understand what they're doing.
Correct.
I could sit here until I'm blue in the face and talk about what the 49ers should do and what, what I want them to do, but that's not the case. We're talking about what they do and then looking at
why they're doing it.
And why they're doing it. And there are things that we just don't know. And because we don't know and we're not abreast of all the information coming out of San Francisco, the rest would be speculation. And I'm not going to sit here and speculate, continuously on what they believe. So right now you have to let some things play out. Some of the decisions that they're going to make are going to give us an idea of what they believe. And that's what you got to go with. And you know what? If you want to see me question some of the things they do in disbelief, go back and watch the video when Matt Ryan got traded. And all the fallout from that. I was not happy with the situation.
No, you were the opposite of happy.
So I think that sometimes though you have your emotions and then you let reason play and take into effect. So everyone's entitled to their opinions and these are ours. And it's unfortunate that we don't all believe the same thing. If we were all believing the same thing, it'd be easy to move without our days, but we just don't. This is just what happens with 49ers football. It's crazy time. It's all the fun talk that goes with it. They don't do anything like you want them to do. They don't go out and sign all the big names like we want them to do.
Even though every big name is linked to San Francisco.
Yeah, every big name is in. Most of the ones that are still available are ranked.
They're still linked.
And the 49ers won't sign them, and we'll all get frustrated, and then they'll go win football games, and it's like, here they go again.
Yep, here they go again. Avion Davis said, can we just get Stephon Gilmore already, right?
Yeah.
A name that's been linked to San Francisco.
Would absolutely love it.
Would love it.
Yeah.
Talk about a complete 180 for your cornerback room. Complete 180.
Yeah, I mean, him, Tarvarius Ward with Emmanuel Mosley in the slot playing the nickel would be fantastic. I mean, just absolutely fantastic.
God, that would just be great, Ant. It would just be absolutely phenomenal.
I love that. That's. I mean, I think we're on board with what Avion is throwing out there.
I don't disagree with you, Avion. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, and I keep looking at all these players that are available, and I'm like, can some of these guys please get financially to the point where the money is getting close to what the 49ers would offer them?
Can the 49ers get on the phone with their agent and just be like, look, dude, it's just not happening this year, right? They're just not going to get it. But you know what? You come here, they're going to have a monster year. The salary cap's going to explode.
I'm sure they've done that already.
100%.
But the thing is, you have to let free agency play out because there's still a potential that some team is going to offer them that money. And that's
someone also could still get hurt. You have a player for another team that feels like they're secured a spot. They could get injured in training camp, OTAs, or just...
You think some of these guys would wait till training camp? I mean,
Maybe.
Do you think Tyrann Mathieu is going to stay on the open market until training camp? Or
He might.
Well, that didn't work out well for Melvin Ingram or Justin Houston last year.
It didn't.
It's not one of those things that normally works out for a team. If you're an incumbent player under contract and you hold out for training camp, it can work out for you. But being on the open market, I haven't seen that work out.
I haven't seen it work out
Earl
either.
Thomas is still holding out.
Jadeveon Clowney still, Earl Thomas is still holding out. Jadeveon Clowney didn't really work out well for him either. Now, it didn't work out terribly for him, but it wasn't necessarily great. Tio, I loved this earlier. How's Murray going to play when his visor is covered with tears?
Oh, there you go.
And I'm pretty sure it's tears from not having a contract extension yet. So there's that, Ant. Look, Joseph Whiteford said, shoulder is the exact reason why no team wants him right now. Check the stats. We are better with him than without him. We have been. The Niners have been better with Jimmy Garoppolo. They've won more football games with him starting at quarterback than anyone else. The difference is, though, is that last year you almost beat a very loaded Arizona team, with Trey Lance. Trey also brought you back from a terrible openings portion of that second half against Seattle, in which they were pretty much tied going into halftime. Their offense stutters a little bit early. They get a big lead, and Trey comes roaring back with that offense, and they're able to put up a fight and make it closer towards the end and almost got themselves a W against Seattle at home. Trey has definitely shown that there's a massive upside with Trey at the quarterback position. Look, I think the situation right now with Jimmy is it's timing. All the other quarterback stuff that goes on, the Deshaun Watson situation unfolding the way it did, the grand jury, non-indictment, and then a second grand jury, no indictment. Teams feeling like, they've done their due diligence and feel that this is not a risk of bringing him into their organization and their roster, on top of Jimmy and rehab not going the way you want it to go for him feeling like he needs to have surgery, him having that surgery. It's a bunch of bad things happening at the right time that puts us now in a situation where we go from everyone thought Jimmy Garoppolo was being dealt by the start of the new league year to us sitting here going, there is a good chance he's going to be around potentially through OTAs.
Yeah, and what is up, 49ers Faithful Report, for jumping in. How's that going?
How you doing, man?
Yeah, and then, we've seen some other comments coming through this. There's some good ones. I was going to read, I think, Kerry Hyder is back. Let's go. That's 49ers Faithful Report saying that. What did you think, Alex, about... Oh, here it is. It was Brad asking about the schedule. Who do you want to see the 49ers start off against? And he said, my hope is that they start at the Panthers and week 2 at the Falcons.
Okay.
So I was curious about that. I know they don't normally do the schedule release until May.
It's true.
So we'll have to wait for that. But do you have a leader in the clubhouse that you'd like to start the season against? And is there one you don't want?
There's one I don't want. It would be the Rams or the Cardinals. I don't want that, and I don't want an AFC West team to start the year off. I don't want that, especially if you're going to have Trey Lance starting. I wouldn't mind a Seattle home game. I wouldn't mind a Trey Lance Seattle home game because Seattle obviously going to be a weaker football team. Trey has played them. He's played them at home already, so He's familiar with that scheme, the system, the pieces they have, what they like to do, what they're going to try and do against him. So I feel that would be a comfortable scenario and a situation there. But good God Almighty, not AFC West and not the Rams or not the Cardinals. As long as it's not that, I am a happy man.
Well, and we know the Rams are probably going to start the Thursday night football game, right?
Probably. That's what's been the trend, right? The last few years.
It'll be at home in LA. Mm-hmm. To me, the 49ers would be a team that you could think is potential. However, does the NFL want the 49er fans to outshine the Rams on that stage? Maybe not. Will. So if I was the NFL, what I would do is, because it's the AFC West, go and send Patrick Mahomes. Go and send Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson in the Denver Broncos to Los Angeles for that, and let the 49ers play someone else. So yeah, I'm with Brad. Give me the Panthers. I love the Panthers. You know what could be fun though, and I don't really care for it, but the Miami Dolphins in San Francisco, week 1.
That would be fun.
NFL saying, "All right, Mike McDaniels, here you go."
Tua, Trey.
Yeah,
it's a lot of intriguing storyline there. McDaniels versus Master v Apprentice to start the year off. Oof. Avion Davis going to Denver and Raiders game and trying to get a home game. Hard to get to Cali with gas. Avion, not wrong.
Yeah,
you're not wrong. It's not gonna get any better.
It's not cheap out in Cali.
It ain't gonna get any better either.
Oh,
I'm hearing things from family members who've worked in government in the past who are saying they're expecting $13 a gallon at some point this summer, which is scary.
Okay,
that's terrifying.
Yeah,
terrifying if that's true.
I'm gonna start saving gas now.
I'm just gonna go build myself
$13 a gallon, scooter. Dude. Everyone just stop going anywhere. Just stop. If you stop, they'll feel the crunch.
Call into work.
Yeah.
This is a gas day. I can't. Have you seen the lines?
Yeah.
I can't get in there. Yeah. It's just not happening.
That's ridiculous.
That's nuts. If that's true. If that's true, man, that's absolutely nuts. Eric Dane says week 1 at Seattle. I can't wait to start this new tradition of pounding the Seahawks. So Eric just wants immediately from the jump, Ant, get me to that stupid place with that stupid gum chewing Pete Carroll, and let's just punch him in the mouth right away. Let's just start beating them into oblivion.
Yeah, I mean that's potentially a nice spot.
It's glorious.
49ers versus Seahawks always has a nice ring to it. We'll see. What are your feelings if they throw the Niners on Monday night for the first game? Because I did hear they're going to go back to the dual Monday night football games for the season.
I wouldn't hate it.
It would possibly be, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck's first call of Monday Night Football.
I mean, listen, I love watching the Niners on primetime, so yeah. I love that. Not as big on that, but
yeah.
I would just prefer a nice Sunday game, normal time, and let Trey just get settled in. Let's not the crazy stuff, yeah. and not because I'm worried that Trey can't handle it, but just because I would prefer a nice easy start to the season for the young quarterback, so that he doesn't have to press, right? He's got not an easy opponent, but an easier to prep and plan for game in which he feels very comfortable, has the normal amount of prep time, not too much prep time, not too little prep time, just the right amount of prep time, a normal schedule. Let's get him going on a normal, consistent flow.
There is no normal schedule. You're playing the NFC West and the AFC West. It ain't going to be easy, God. Alex. It ain't going to be easy.
I just can't believe that is the case. I can't believe the AFC West did this. And why have they done this? Why have they done this? We had our Detroit and Philly cakewalk openers last season, says Mr. Corey. Philly wasn't a cakewalk.
It was, yeah, but it was at the time. It felt like they weren't gelling, and that was a good game for the Niners. That was a good start to the season. Being able to play those two road games, that was nice.
$13 says Twisted Clown. That won't wake anyone up.
Yeah.
No, I want to go back to sleep on those days too.
Just imagine how much a Big Mac is about to cost.
Oh no, it's not the Big Macs.
I'm telling you, that's the thing, right? When gas goes up, food prices go up.
It's true.
I mean, shoot, Snow White can't die in this. He ain't gonna buy no apple. He can't afford it. Crazy, man.
A Snow White reference on the podcast.
Yes, I did.
That's a first.
Yeah.
Whew, holy
man,
cow.
Taco Truck's about to become stationary where I'm from.
Oh my God, dude. Taco Truck is...
Yeah. I'm just going to start walking places.
Just what I'm going to start doing, and I'm going to start walking to the podcast.
Yeah.
Give you about a good 45-minute heads up before I head over. Hey, before we head to the studio, I'm just letting you know I'm leaving now.
Yeah.
See you in 45 minutes.
For real.
49ers minded. Alex, you just drove me nuts with that. Trust me, I'm going nuts on it. A lot of people are going nuts on it. But look, 49ers fogies and with the important thing here. 41 more likes needed. Hashtag quest for 100 likes. So, Cutback Crew, hit that like button right now. There's 115 of you in here. I know you guys can get it done. Let's get that up to the big 100. That's been a passion of Gary's for the last few live streams. And we're getting there, Ant. We're getting close as well. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well and that notification bell. That way you don't miss any live streams, any breaking news. We're coming into wave 3 of free agency. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. We're getting close. We're getting real close, Ant.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to draft time. We're almost there.
Google account. Dollar Tree going to be the $1.25 tree now.
You're not wrong. They already have raised prices above $1.
They have.
99-cent stores are now what? $1.99 stores? I mean, this thing is about to get wild.
It's going to get crazy.
Go get your toilet paper now.
Yeah, get your toilet paper now.
We learned our lessons. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, don't wait until everyone else is going out there. 49ers did search for gold. It's true.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
Well said.
I need to go do some of that myself.
Yeah, so
right?
Alex, what do you think the next move would be for the Niners? What is the next most logical move for San Francisco?
The next most logical move, you would think it's to sign someone to fulfill the nickel corner slot, unless the Niners are sitting there going, it's Darqueze Dennard. It would feel that Verrett, Chris Harris, those are the logical options. But then again, knowing San Francisco, every time we've said something like this, they just haven't done it, right? Felt like wide receiver was going to be no. Felt like O-line, no. They just haven't done it. So, you know what that means, Ant? It means running back. It means they're going to sign a running back.
You think they'll sign a running back?
I think it's going to be a running back.
That's interesting.
I think it'll be a running back now. Because I think it should be a slot corner, it's going to be a running back.
Yeah, or it'll be an O-lineman.
If it's an O-lineman, dude, I'll be stunned at this point. I will be absolutely blown away.
I will be stunned in a very good way.
In a very good way.
Yeah.
Well, unless it's what if it's someone really bad?
Like who, though?
What if it's Will Hernandez?
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's just
not the greatest scheme fit. I don't think they would do that, but yeah. Potentially. True. I mean, you're right. I mean, right now they haven't kind of went with what people thought they were going to do. They've made a lot of depth signings, so potentially you would think, Verrett or Jaquiski Tartt options, possibly, bringing back their own guys seems to be something that they're doing right now. I consider almost Kerry Hyder one of their guys, so this is just kind of on brand right now.
True. Matthew Raleigh, if keyword here, Ant. If Jimmy is the starter, does this mean that Trey is a bust? And he wanted to make sure everyone understood. And I said if, so don't attack me. Don't attack me. No, I don't think that would mean bust. I don't think that would mean bust for Trey Lance. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to. It'd be a competition. It is not Jimmy Garoppolo would be starting. It would be an open season, full-on quarterback competition in which either guy could start, and Trey is going to have the advantage because Jimmy is going to be coming off of surgery and isn't going to be 100% healthy at the start of OTAs and training camp.
Yeah, physically, he'll have the
he does
advantage.
have the physical advantage. Yes.
I think that there are kind of some conversations out there, right, that are waiting for Trey to go through OTAs and mini camps, depending on how he looks there and deciding on Jimmy Garoppolo thereafter. I think it's more so that they're waiting for Jimmy Garoppolo to clear, and get cleared from his surgery, so that way they could cut him if they need to, or then move on from him. But they could obviously keep him through training camp, let him compete, and then see what happens. And if the trade market develops for him, I think that's something they definitely could do. So maybe they're going to hold on to the last second. But right now, the one thing that it does appear is that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on this roster through OTAs, through minicamp. But we're going to be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo well into potentially May.
Yes, I agree with you there. And Mr. Corey, and the next move for the 49ers is going to be to cut and then re-sign Dante Johnson. Mr. Corey, you could be right. That's the thing. That has happened a lot with Dante Johnson. It really, truly has. Brad Jones says re-signing Arden Key, then all eyes on the draft. I do like that as well. It's gonna be interesting. There's a lot of things to do here. And I did see a very interesting question here, Ant. I really like this question a lot. If I can just pull it up. There it is. Android user. What's our running back depth right now at this current moment after the Jeff Wilson Jr. signing? Is it Mitchell 1, Wilson Jr. 2, Sermon 3, Hasty 4? Or is it a different order?
I put it in a different order only for this reason, as I put JaMychal Hasty in third down back order.
Okay.
So then I just list the other guys in 1, 2, 3, and then JaMychal Hasty is kind of in his own category as a third down back. So I would say that it's in that order, though. It's Elijah Mitchell, then it's Jeff Wilson Jr., then Trey Sermon, and then JaMychal Hasty is the third down back. I think that's how I would list them on a depth chart. You know that Jeff Wilson Jr. and Elijah Mitchell can play on third down right now. You wouldn't do that with Trey Sermon because he's not the best receiver of the football out of the backfield. So that's how it looks right now, the way I look at it.
Very true. And SL Million, bro's tripping, man. The Russell Westbrook. He says Russell Westbrook. So he's the slander on Russell Westbrook on the Niners offseason so far. We tripping, Maine. That is a glorious meme. I do still remember that press conference at SL Million. That was absolutely hysterical. The reporter asked him that question. He said, bro's tripping, man, and just gets dressed and is done. Just absolutely done with it. Poll is closed officially at 139 votes, which you'll love to see. Would the 49ers, or would you want the 49ers to re-sign Tart for the vet minimum exemption salary, about $1.2 million in cap? 76% said yes.
Wow.
16% said no. And just a measly 6% says he can't catch. So there we go.
The 6% ain't wrong. But yeah, I mean, 76% said yes. That's a huge margin. I thought this thing was going to be closer.
I thought it was going to be closer to 50-50.
So yeah, most of the 49ers cutback crew would like Jaquiski Tartt to come back. And with the numbers that I seen being thrown around today for that exemption rate where he'd only cost, $1.12 million against the cap, that would definitely be affordable. Your safety room would be intact and ready to go depth-wise. So yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to do that as well.
Very true. Bomber T, what do you guys think will happen if Trey is a bust? Coach is fired, ?
Yeah, could be. I mean, that's the thing.
It won't be right now, though. It wouldn't be this year.
No, because this wouldn't be the year that he would be declared a bust.
Correct.
Trey Lance is still a young quarterback. I mean, the plan when they sold it to Jed York was it was 2 years potentially with Jimmy Garoppolo where Trey's developing. So, I mean, you have at least another year. I believe if Trey goes out there and plays, decent this year, or even good, then Kyle Shanahan's going to be, fine. If he goes out there and completely bombs, you're going to put Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat for the remainder of the next season, unless Jimmy Garoppolo, is available and does tear it up. I don't know. I don't think there's an avenue where Trey Lance is a bust, and I don't think that any of these coaches are going to get fired because of it, because I think he is going to be a very good football player.
It's very hard to imagine a situation where Trey is a bust just because of what we've already seen in terms of the development and the growth in year one. What we saw out of him in training camp, what we saw out of him in his first bit of playing action, his first start to his last start. There's already been enough growth there to be like, well, it doesn't feel like bust is on the horizon. Now, that very well could change. That always can, differ and alter depending on how he develops. But I just don't see that with how talented he is and what we've seen already growth-wise. And Megan just asked an interesting question. What happens if Trey looks awful in training camp, doesn't look ready, and Jimmy is gone? What are the Niners doing? What's going to happen?
Playing Trey.
You're playing Trey Lance, what you're hoping is that he can just, at that point, emulate things that Jimmy has done and have some success operating over the middle of the field, some deep shot 50-50 balls that Jimmy wouldn't take, and things just going in a better direction for you.
He's not going to look horrible in training camp. He didn't look horrible last year. Yeah, he's not going to take a step back. So he's not going to look horrible. They could ultimately decide, I don't think any of these reports are actually accurate, that they are worried that Jimmy Garoppolo, they need to have him just in case. But
did you see the report too that Trey Lance has been reaffirmed that he will be the starting quarterback in 2022? Do you think there's any truth to that they've told him you're the starter in 2022? Don't worry about Jimmy.
I don't know why they would have to tell him that. I think from the beginning they told him, you need to go out there and earn your roster spot. And
here's a checklist of things you need to be working on.
I think they're telling him when you're ready to be the starting quarterback, you're going to be the starting quarterback. You need to go out there and earn it. You're not going to tell this guy oh yeah, it's your job. No, he's got to go out there and take it. If Jimmy Garoppolo's on the roster, it makes it more difficult. It pushes him a little bit. If Jimmy Garoppolo's not, yeah, he's got a direct path to it. But I don't think that's wavering from them always telling Trey Lance, whenever you get to the point to being the best option for us, you're going to be the quarterback. If that would have happened last year and Trey Lance would have became the best option, he would have played. I really believe that because Kyle Shanahan and them want to win. And if at any point they thought Trey Lance was a better option, he would have played.
Well, and Kyle came out and said there was almost that point in time where they got to a point where it was like it just made sense for us to see and make the move a different direction. They got close. If they got close in the middle of the season, despite Jimmy Garoppolo getting himself right and getting the team right, if it was close last season, you got to imagine it's going to be ridiculously close, if not swinging the other way this year.
Well, it's going to be months of development from Trey Lance. I mean, just months of him feeling more comfortable in this system. Yeah, I don't think I'm really worried about Trey Lance's development. He's going to look better this year than he looked last year, and so I don't worry about him coming in there and competing and earning the job, because that's what he's got to do, earn it.
He's going to have to.
The 49ers aren't going to give it to anyone. They're not going to give it to anyone at any position. You have to go out there at every position and earn your spot.
Which means Caleb, your boy Nate Sudfeld will have a job. And by the way,
T.O.'s just said it. What if Nate Sudfeld goes in there and kills in training camp?
They paid him $2 million. I don't think it's going to happen.
Nate Sudfeld doesn't have the physical talent to start over Trey Lance.
No.
But Nate Sudfeld is a good thrower of the football and will be a solid backup for San Francisco. Don't expect him to go win multiple games, but getting you through 1 or 2 games during the season, yeah, he could do that.
Agreed. And Fable, lurking and working, boys. Hope all is well. You as well, my guy. Good to see and hear from you. Caleb, by the way, said a little earlier, Hingle McCringleberry would be a solid tight end too. Not only a solid tight end too, but just 2 hip thrusts. Just 2 solid hip thrusts.
You see what Carlos Fonseca said?
What did he say?
Did anyone see Debo's tweet 3 hours ago? With eyes.
I did not see that. Well, apparently, too, on his Instagram, too, not that long ago, he posted a video of him with his agent. So maybe they're working on something?
So you're thinking that a deal is inbound for maybe his new deal?
Maybe. And speaking of Debo, Joseph Whitebird just asked, too, does Debo play running back or wide receiver this year with how our offense revolves around him? I think the idea is for him to still do both, but I think they want to limit the amount of carries he has to handle, Joseph.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to limit the amount of times that he's asked to carry the football out of the backfield. He will be a receiver, number 1. He'll be a running back, number 2. And that's part of the reason they went out and got Ray McLeod as well. He's going to take a little bit of the pressure off him. And I think they would also like to get somebody else. We'll see what they end up doing. So I think they would like less emphasis for him in the backfield and be able to kind of turn that on when you get to the end of the season in the playoffs. But we'll see. I think they'll do whatever is necessary to win football games, but they do not want to overwork Deebo Samuel.
No, you want to keep him fresh. You'd like to be able to lean on him in the playoffs, ideally, is what you'd like to do. You can't do that, and if he's touching the ball 10,000 times during the regular season.
Tio said Justin Ant seen wearing a Sudfeld jersey. No, I do not own a Sudfeld jersey. I do not
make it happen.
I do not plan on wearing a Sudfeld jersey. So
that would be just Caleb.
Yeah,
just Caleb.
Yeah, KNDR. We'll definitely have the Sudfeld jersey.
I mean, Caleb joked during the Cutback Madden League, Ant, that if he won it, he would get a Suddy jersey.
There you go.
He joked about it. I don't think he was being serious, but I won't put it past Caleb. I really would not put it past Caleb. But, Carlos, that is an interesting situation. Debo with the in the eyes. It's something a lot of people have been doing, but with all the speculation around Debo getting a new contract, the Niners keeping a cornerstone piece of their franchise around, and this being the year that typically the Niners start to work and talk about contract negotiations with a guy, maybe it's leaning towards something. Maybe we'll find out sooner rather than later. That would be a surprise if Debo and the Niners worked out a contract this week, next week, anytime before training camp would be a little bit of a surprise to me.
Maybe. I mean, if they do, they could get his number way down this year.
You would imagine they'd have to.
Yeah, potentially. They could have potentially I'm saying they could actually be savings to what he was supposed to make this year. So we don't know.
True.
Well, we'll keep an eye. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. If something breaks with the Deebo Samuel contract, you can come back here and we'll definitely be talking about that because that would be exciting news.
We will be live and celebrating.
Yeah.
We will be live and celebrating, and that is 100% accurate. Lou asked a little bit earlier, too, is Hasty the running back that's on the bubble? As of right now, no, but you would imagine the more they fill out this roster, the more they get closer to that 90-man, we imagine there's still some running backs coming in. The minute they sign some guys or draft a guy, if that's the route they decide to go, then yes, Hasty will be back on the bubble because you're going to try and look to improve the room.
Yeah, right now there's only 4 running backs, so I don't think any one of them are on the bubble. But as you bring more players onto this roster, he could be. I think that was one of the things they wanted to do last year when they brought in Wayne Gallman was push it so these guys would compete. So I think because he is limited to a third down back role, and you see the way that Elijah Mitchell has been improving in his receiving game, especially in the Green Bay game, I think you could see the potential of Elijah Mitchell playing on third down. And if he is, then there's not as much of a need for JaMychal Hasty. So yeah, Hasty could be on the bubble if they bring in certain players. I would expect them to potentially bring in a free agent or somebody in the draft and let them compete. So we'll see. But I expect there to be 6 running backs on the 90-man roster. So a couple guys are still going to be coming in.
You would imagine so. This is why I jokingly, but not jokingly, said that the next move could be running back for the 49ers with only 4 guys currently on the roster and at the running back room. You would imagine that this is something that they want to do. You would imagine that is the case. Just when 49ers Twitter can't be more insane. What is this? Oh my goodness. Is he serious? Apparently a couple of 49ers. Okay, no, he's just joking. He's just joking. I thought that was a serious tweet. It is not a serious tweet. Thank goodness gracious almighty. I was about to absolutely lose my mind if that were the case.
What?
Someone had jokingly tweeted out, 49ers need to do whatever they can to move up to draft Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Thought it was serious. It doesn't seem like it was. Joseph Whitebird, would our offense be as effective with him having less touches at running back, though? Teams have to build their game plan around him running, which adds more pressure for defenses. I think it would be. What did we see year 1 from Deebo Samuel? We didn't see him in the backfield, right? We didn't see him lining up as a running back and taking handoffs out of the backfield, but we did see him utilized on reverses and fly sweeps, right? There's been an evolution to how he's been utilized in the offense, and as that evolution has taken place, he's been used in more and more dynamic ways. I think Kyle Shanahan is always tweaking the offense. He's always making little subtle changes in terms of how he uses his pieces and how he moves guys around and utilizes them. At the end of the day, I think anything is possible for his role within the offense. I don't think he's really limited in terms of his impact and how he can have an impact on the field. We've seen him catch deep balls and beat guys over the top. We see him have a huge impact carrying the ball in the backfield, fly sweeps, reverses, screens, middle crossers. It seems like Deebo is a do-it-all versatile tool that can be utilized any way Kyle Shanahan sees fit. And for Kyle Shanahan, that means there is no box. You don't have to use him one way in order to have success. You can do it a variety of ways. Early in the season, the Niners offense was having success with Deebo not running the ball in the backfield. Late in the season, he was utilized as kind of the almost the home run hitting option in the backfield. And he was the one that was breaking the big runs for touchdowns. So Kyle is going to use him whatever way he can to get the most out of it. And I think that means that ideally you want to, in the regular season, limit the amount of touches in the backfield because you want to be able to save that and keep that in your back pocket when it matters most.
Yeah, with Deebo Samuel, you're only limited by your own creativity.
Right.
So whatever you can figure out to do with him, you can do. And then you see Kyle Shanahan bringing in players that complement what Deebo Samuel does. Brandon Ayuk does different things. Ray McCloud does different things. Juwan Jennings has a different role. They need to get somebody to take the top off. If they get someone to take the top off the defense, and I know people have been saying potentially that's Ray McCloud, but I think it should be somebody else. I think Ray McCloud is going to be asked to do a different role. If they get someone that can take the top off, it's going to allow Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle to operate underneath. And I know Brandon Ayuk says, hey, throw me the ball deep, and he's going to have those opportunities. But you want one guy that's an absolute burner that can do it. That'll free up a lot of open space over the middle for Trey Lance to be able to get these guys the football. course, they have to get the run game going as well. But yeah, Kyle Shanahan, I guarantee, has an idea of what he wants to do with Deebo Samuel. And you've seen Deebo elevate his game last year, and I don't expect it to slow down any. Hopefully, he's figured out how to maintain his body and keep himself limber, so that way he doesn't get hurt. And so, yeah, this is going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Deebo Samuel, because I think this offense has the potential to take it to the next level.
Agreed with you, especially with Trey Lance and that big rocket cannon of an arm. And you imagine that's going to allow Brandon Ayuk the opportunity to take the top off the defense. It's going to allow Kyle Shanahan to utilize Raymond McLeod's skill set, both as a route running and pass catching option over the middle and deep, as well as in other areas. And you imagine, I think you and I both imagine, there are going to be some guys they target at the wide receiver position in the draft that are going to have the opportunity to really elevate this offense to another level and take it to another spot. On top of Juwan Jennings' continued development and what we've seen out of him, the Niners, the sky's the limit for the offense. And that's all of that. And we haven't even addressed George Kittle. I mean, there was so many. The ceiling is through the roof with this offense and the possibilities of the things you can do. And then you add into the mix of that Trey Lance and the untapped resource that is him and his possibilities and capabilities in the offense, not only as a thrower of the football, but as a physical runner as well.
I think as far as physical traits on the outside with receivers, your running backs, your tight end, you feel like you have enough tools to make something happen. The question marks surround the offensive line. And only because you don't know what you're going to get out of Aaron Banks or Jalen Moore, if one of them is going to be able to elevate their game to be a starting guard in this league. Because if you're going in the season and it's Daniel Brunskill and Colton McKivitz, I have questions about Colton McKivitz's readiness. I haven't seen him develop. Where Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore, a little bit different. You feel like they have that potential. So I have some question marks around the offensive line. I'm not ready to say that it's a huge concern, but it's definitely a question mark. And I think that we would feel a lot more comfortable if it was other players. I get that. But I do think the draft capital that went into Aaron Banks is you hopeful that he can go in there and start. Hopefully it's Aaron Banks. Hopefully he's ready. But it looks like Daniel Brunskill could be manning one of these guard spots. But in a perfect world, I think it's Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks. But I think the offensive line right now is the biggest question mark surrounding this offense. And that's with us going in with a very young quarterback.
Very true, Ant. SL Million, isn't that what you guys said about what you just said about Deebo? What we used to say about Juice? What happened to 44 being in the pass game?
Yeah, he wasn't asked to do that as much as he has in the past.
Nope.
There were opportunities where he was missed.
missed.
Jimmy missed him a couple times where he would have had big plays. We know Nick Mullins missed him a lot. So maybe he's been hindered some by the quarterback play. That's possibly potential. So maybe it will open up a little bit more. We don't know. But I think that, Kyle Juszczyk is definitely a weapon. And we actually had a video last year called Squeezing Everything You Can Out of Juice, where we talked a lot about they need to go more to Kyle Juszczyk and use his skills, and his abilities to further the team's offense. And they didn't do a lot of that last year. Maybe that was because Kyle was, hiding something or using Juice in a way to disguise something else. Don't know for sure, but I would love to see Kyle Juszczyk more involved in the 49ers offense.
I would love it as well, Ant. It would definitely be something I want to see. Mr. Corey, Will Fuller would be nice, but he probably wants cheese on his hamburger. There is a possibility.
I guarantee it. Will Fuller's, still got the potential to get, since he saw MVS's deal be almost $12 million a year.
He's thinking he could probably get 6 or 7.
I think he's thinking he can get 10.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
You think someone's going to pay him 10 with how many games he's missed?
I'm not saying I think somebody's going to pay. I said I think that's what he thinks he's going to get.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think someone's going to pay him that.
Yeah, but
I think he has a better shot of getting a 1-year, $6 million deal from someone than multiple years and $10 million a year.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Kansas City hasn't called yet because he would fit in what they do there with Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, and now MVS. You could just load up again and just use that money that you don't have to spend on Tyreek Hill. But I think somebody's going to eventually give him the money. I don't know how close it's going to get to 10, but I believe he wants 10.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he wants 10. I don't think anyone should be paying it, but I don't blame him. I don't fault him for wanting to go out and get it, Ant. Ronnie Montoya said there's buzz about the Giants shipping out Saquon Barkley. Would you be interested in that move for a running back, or is he just too banged up?
I think I would be willing. I think I would for the right amount.
4th or 5th round pick?
Yeah, because he's going into the last year of his contract. I mean, if you're giving up a 4th or 5th round pick, you do want to possibly work out a new deal with him, because getting his cap number down too would make a lot of sense. He's supposed to make $7 million. You don't really want to pay a running back 7. Right now, the Niners don't have that money to make that work. So yeah, I'd be interested in Saquon Barkley, but it has to be the right price because I do believe Saquon Barkley improves the room. And as long as you can improve the room, you go out and you make the deal. If it's for a player you don't believe can improve the room, then you don't do it. So it's that simple. But there's a lot of contingencies that go into that, and you're right. Part of it is injuries. The injuries, he just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and so that's a question mark. So it would definitely be one of those things I'd be cautiously optimistic about what he could do for the Niners.
Yeah, absolutely there. Megan, I'm seeing some alarms there. Is something happening? And if so, can you put it in the chat and let me know, or text me if something is going on? I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I think she just maybe forgot to type the rest.
Maybe she did, but if not, let me know, please. Will Kyle run the same option offense with Trey Lance that he did with RG3 in Washington, says Joseph. This is a very interesting question. The offense isn't different per se. There are different wrinkles that are put in and executed based on the quarterbacks that you have. We saw CJ Beathard running read option. So it's already in the playbook. We saw Jimmy run read option this year, and people questioning why they're doing that with Jimmy Garoppolo on the football field. The option and read option stuff is already in the playbook. It already exists. I think the new wrinkles you're going to see is more of what we saw from Trey Lance this past year. Some of the draw stuff, some of the quarterback powers, traps, and things of that nature, where they're running him, through the box. That is a Trey Lance skill set that he has. It's something he does really well. It's something he did really well at North Dakota State too. It's just a matter of how many times that kind of stuff is utilized. And if we see it more in shorter situations, shorter downs and distances, 3rd and shorts, instead of like we saw this year, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s. Because now that you've shown teams you're willing to do that with Trey on the field, right? 3rd and 8 and running something like that to get yourself to a 4th and 1 to try and go for it. Teams are going to account for it, which means it may not be something that Kyle goes to early in the season.
I think the read option is going to be a part of the 49ers offense, and the main reason I do is because it freezes a defensive end out on the edge. You can freeze that defensive end, he can't get involved in the run game. So that means your running back's going to have a lane that he can run through. So anytime you can use a player like Trey Lance to, occupy the eyes of another defender or possibly multiple defenders, defensive end, possibly a linebacker as well, you do that because then your run game can be more successful. So he's going to be one of those guys that's going to help in that avenue. So I think read option will be something in it. I think he's going to want to give more than he pulls, and I think a lot of these teams are going to be disciplined enough to consistently make him give. So he needs to, be very strategic on when he pulls and when he gives, but when he has the opportunity to pull, he needs to take advantage of it and get the necessary yards and then get down. So it's going to be about keeping him healthy, but I think it will be a part of the offense. I think the quarterback powers that you're talking about, I see more as a 3rd and short situation or a goal line situation, and they don't put him in too many opportunities to get hurt because you do want him to stay healthy. And with Nate Sudfeld being the backup, you don't have the same sort of thing you had last year where you had Jimmy as well. So you knew that if something happened to Trey, you could eventually go back to Jimmy, where this wouldn't be the case. You'd be on Nate Sudfeld. And so, yeah, Trey is your soul in a roll now. So you got to make sure you keep... Your
soul in a roll, I love it.
Yeah, you got to keep that together. So, yeah, read option's a part of it, though, for sure.
It's definitely going to be a part of it. I just don't think it'll be, like you said, it's not going to be something that's going to be the prevalent mainstay focus. It's going to be utilized, not utilized to the extent that RG3 utilized it in Washington, I don't believe. Brad, Megan just wanted us to get our attention to Brad's question. Did you guys see the video of the Aussie Rules footy player down under kick his 1,000th goal last night? I did not.
No, I did not as well.
I did not.
Yeah. So I'll have to check that out.
I'll have to try and check that out too. Yeah. It has been a heavy focus on free agency, who's going where, who's landing where, and my heart being stolen by St. Peter's basketball. That's it. Haven't watched any basketball in 2 years, Ant. And
there's something basketball going on?
Yeah, the March Madness is going on. I haven't watched any March Madness other than the last 2 St. Peter's games.
I used to
getting all the feels.
I used to watch every single March Madness game.
You used to do the pick'em brackets.
I used to do the brackets all the time. I've done no brackets. I've watched no games. I have no idea who's winning. I have no idea who's losing. And you know what? Doing just fine.
Android user Alex with the disrespecting grin when Sudfeld's name is mentioned.
Wow.
It's not disrespecting. I respect Nate Sudfeld.
You put some respect on the Greasy Boys.
The Greasy Boys. That's shirt right. Coming to a merch shop near you. 49erscutbackshop.com. Look, I haven't watched any. I haven't watched any basketball in 2 years. So it's been nice to watch one game and one team that I really enjoy. But back to football, because that's the only thing I truly care about at this moment in time. And Bomber T asked, do you guys think they will have Butterball Banks in shape this year? They need to put him on Slim Fast and Steel. Whoa!
He only needed to lose 15 pounds.
That's not a lot. That's easy for a guy like that.
He's going from 335 to 320. Well, it's easy, but you need to make sure you do it in the right way because you don't want to lose the strength.
No, you can't just not eat.
You need to turn it into lean muscle, which I believe he's had a full year to do that now. He will be more flexible. He'll be more athletic. He'll be quicker. His lateral movement will improve. But I think that physically he'll be in the best shape of his life. Let's just hope that he can have the technique to get it done.
Agreed. Mr. Corey, I'm not going to even bring up those two names. We're just going to skip on through. He said, we're about to make it through a whole stream without someone dreaming of two specific gentlemen that have been brought up a lot in 49ers land. We're just going to keep on going.
One of those names was brought up for sure.
It was brought up, but I mean, we're not sitting here like...
No, we're not going into it. Brad Jones, is McAfee beating Austin Theory at Mania?
Yes. How could McAfee not?
Easy, because Austin Theory needs a big bump because he's a young guy.
McAfee will just... Well, I mean, I know Theory is the heel right now.
McAfee's going to win. But anyways, I would love it if Theory won. I think it would be funny. Because then we get a selfie of McAfee on social media.
We would get a selfie of McAfee on social media. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Ant. That is a solid question, though, my guy. That is a solid question. I absolutely love that. I'm excited for Mania this year.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited for it. It's been a while, a hot minute since I've been excited for Mania.
Yeah.
This year, though, very excited. This draft is so deep. Third and fifth rounds are more valuable than normal. And Eric, not only are you not wrong there, but the Niners have found a way to find gems in those late rounds when other teams have not. So this is a prime year for the Niners to really knock it out of the park in the draft. It truly is.
Yeah, there is. I mean, when you're looking at the draft and kind of positioning of the players where they're going to be landing, there are players that fit what the 49ers want in that area. There are times when you're sitting there and you look at the players available and they just don't fit scheme-wise, or potentially they don't, ultimately help your team because of your needs. I think this is one of those years that right now needs or even upgrades are potential meeting up with where those players are going to be at. So yeah, there's a lot of great players. And Alex, I'm going to tease you a little bit. You were talking about a running back that you found. I found a running back that's going to blow everyone's socks off that I've never heard anyone mention.
Not a single person.
Not a single person.
Will you text me the school while we're live right now so I can at least know the school that he's at?
No, I won't.
Why not?
Because I'm not.
What if he's on my list?
He's definitely.
What if he's the guy that I'm talking about?
He's not.
You sure?
He's not.
Are you sure?
He's not. Could you watch game film of him?
What do you mean?
I couldn't even watch game film. I had to watch practice film. Did you watch game film of him?
Oh, probably not then.
Yeah.
That is interesting now, man. Okay, so after the show, I get to find out the name so I can go watch film.
No.
What is wrong with you?
He's mine.
He can be yours. When you find that guy, I always love it. I always want to watch that film.
I know. This guy's special.
Okay. I'm excited about this now.
Yeah.
I'm excited about who this person is going to be in Cutback Crew. I will be anxiously waiting, just like all of you.
Yeah.
Because my compatriot
here, it is not Pierre Strong, by the way. It's not Pierre Strong, but I do like Pierre.
Pierre Strong is nice.
Yeah, some Great Tone said Pierre Strong. I do like Strong, though. He's fast.
Yes, he is strong. Fast.
So your guy's not Pierre Strong either?
It's not Pierre Strong.
Ooh, nice.
My guy is not Pierre Strong. So there's that. I'm starting to wonder if maybe it is the same. It's probably not the same. It's probably not the same guy, because if it was practice film that you watched, not what I watched.
Is he ranked in the top 500 recruits in the draft?
Yeah.
Then no.
He's towards the back end though.
Then no.
500. Okay, fair enough.
My guy's so off radar, it's not even funny.
So off radar, it's not even funny?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, who was the guy last year? Who was the guy last year that we were absolutely googly eyes over? That wasn't on the radar either. Why am I blanking on this?
I don't know. We had tons of guys last year.
We did have tons of guys.
And then they ended up going higher than we thought, or than people thought.
Yeah. There was a lot of that last year.
Yeah, it's a small school.
Small school, so it'll be interesting. Says Megan's small school. Small school.
Lou says Aunt call Kyle. Yeah. At some point, once we reveal it onto the show, I will tag the 49ers just for grins. Even though they don't listen to any of us, I'll just do it for grins.
True. It's very true. Joseph Whitebird said, I love Hyder. Takes Jones' place in the D line. Glad he's back in the red and gold. Andrew just said, could Kerry Hyder unlock Bosa the way Ford unlocked Bosa? No, not the same way. Not the same way.
Yeah, because Ford is a speed threat.
Correct.
The thing with Kerry Hyder, he's going to need some assistance. He's going to need the secondary to help a little bit. I mean, that's the thing. He needs time to be able to get to the quarterback. D Ford doesn't need time. D Ford is a meet at the quarterback kind of person. So that is something the 49ers are lacking right now. I think Samson Ebicom can still develop into a speed rusher, but not at D Ford's level. His first step is tremendous. The way he's able to dip under the body control. I mean, the hand placement. It's a next level thing. He just can't stay healthy. That's his bugaboo. And if you're not on the field, then you can't produce. But talent wise, yeah, he's good.
He's very good. Very good. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what he unlocks. I imagine him more of an Arden Key-esque type role for the 49ers than anything else. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see. And KNDR at La Megatroid Skittle.
There you go.
Jesus, Caleb. Come on, Caleb. This is why you didn't win the Cutback League. More concerned with funny names. Did someone just say Hyder takes DJ Jones's place? I think he just meant in terms of like filling out the rotation spot there in the rotation.
DJ Jones is the only one with the potential to start and have the effect that DJ Jones did is Javon Kinlaw.
At this point in time.
And we're saying the potential. He has he has not proven to play at DJ Jones's level.
Or beat double teams the way DJ Jones beat double teams.
Or stay healthy. So there are question marks around that spot. The way that they're building this defensive line, what you're hopeful, though, is the downs he's in, he's going to be really good. And then you have, Ridgeway that can come in and play significant snaps. Kevin Givens that can play significant snaps. So you got to like the defensive. I mean, that defensive line for the Niners, rough.
It is.
Rough again, because Maurice Hurst is sitting there. He's a great pass rusher.
And not being talked about.
No.
And not
another solid move. So that defensive line is so good.
It is.
From top to bottom. I mean, it's not maybe the top defensive end opposite of Bosa
is not the same as.
But Ebukam was definitely improving. And
we still don't know what Charles Omenihu was going to turn into. We really don't.
No, he's going to be better.
And he's going to be better, but that's what I mean, right? We don't know how much better. We could be talking about a huge jump here.
Yeah.
A huge jump. And if he takes a huge jump in year 2 with San Francisco, the Niners, it's flashing jackpot signs, Andy. It is flashing jackpot signs.
Well, it's probably flashing jackpot signs for him in free agency because he's going to be a free agent after the season. So
very true.
Charles Omenihu will probably take his talent somewhere else if he has a big year, and I fully expect him to have a big year, and I hope he does. That means the Niners' defensive line is really good.
True. SL Million, I don't think teams want to pay Arden Key. Probably not that 6.5 what the number was set at. Lou says Ebukam will be cut so we can pay the $8 million for the draft picks. That's bold, Lou.
I don't think so.
That's bold. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't see that happening either. I think if they're to pay for the draft picks, the $8 million, they can make an extension or a restructure and they can get it done. So, and to sign the draft picks, they have a little bit of time. So maybe they're going to make a different move along the way. We'll see. But I hope they don't cut Ebukam. They really do need him now.
True. You're not wrong. And Lou, don't worry about butchering the spelling, man. Don't worry about butchering the spelling. I remember when the Niners signed him last year, when we were after you had already done the thumbnail. I had the thumbnail in front of me trying to title the video and misspelled it like 2 other times because I was trying to sound it out instead of just looking at the thumbnail like a silly person.
It's tough to even. It was tough to even pronounce at first. Just to figure out you had so many different. Well, you had different announcers saying different. Abukam, Ubakam,
Ebukam.
Yeah, so there was just a bunch of different ones. So thanks. I believe it was Tommy for helping us.
It was Tommy.
So thank you for that. And then of course Gary just took over with Ebukam,
and then that was it. There it is. On speak of it.
Yeah.
Speak it into existence, and I love it. You're just continuing to it. Sakura Hem said D-line's gonna eat now that our cornerback is pretty legit. Also, it's gonna help both ways. Having a guy like Travarius Ward out there is gonna help both ways. In the times and situations where the front doesn't necessarily get after it, it's gonna allow them more time to hopefully get after the quarterback. That's what we're all hoping to see.
I still think there's a question mark at nickel. If they solve the nickel corner situation, if they were to bring back Jason Verrett and then bring in, and then make sure the safety room is locked up, the course completely right. This defensive secondary is going to make it so this defensive line is even better. That would be really, really bad for everyone else. I mean, you're talking about the Niners having all-time sack levels. So that would be big.
60, 70 plus sack seasons.
I mean, the 72, I believe, is the record. So they'd have to get 72 sacks. Last year, I believe it was 48 in the regular season, which is the same number they got in 2019.
Look at that.
But I do think they could get close to 60 sacks if the secondary plays up to potential closer to what they played in 2020. Secondary played really good in 2020. They didn't have the production of the D-line. If they can ever get both of them together, they could have one of those huge impact seasons.
Yeah. And I'm excited about that. And I want all of that. Please give me all of that, San Francisco. Brad says, I read our interior line more than edges right now, but agree Ebukon came on super strong at the back end of the season. He did. He really got better throughout the year. Joseph says, what expectations for Kinlaw? In all honesty, you want this guy to continue to be a run-stopping dominant guy on multiple downs, first and second down ideally, so that way the Niners can get their pass rushing package in and get Kinlaw off the football field. What I want to see from Javon Kinlaw, not only health-wise, is just improvement against the double team. We've seen him like take on double teams and not get moved, which is great. I want to see him start beating double.
I think it's time for him to assert himself as a legit NFL player. He needs to come on and he needs to play 17 games and he needs to play at a high level and he needs to play worthy of a number 14 pick in the draft. So I think it's time for him to step up, stay healthy, and get it done. And my expectations for him, if I was his coach, my expectations would be that he gets out there and plays every single down and gets it done. My realistic expectations is that he goes out there and he plays, 2 downs and rotates, and stops the run at a high level. And then when he's tasked to do so on 3rd and short and they decide to pass, get after the quarterback. But other than that, I have no expectations for him as a fan. As a coach, I would have higher expectations though.
Higher expectations. Fable says Kinlaw at nose tackle now. It feels that way. It feels like the Armstead move is to that 5 tech, which is going to bump Kinlaw over.
3 tech.
3 tech, my bad.
He's an original 5 tech coming from the 3-4. But yeah, he'll play 3 tech and then Kinlaw to go over and play, the nose tackle position. And with them bringing in more defensive ends, I mean, they got Ebukam, Kerry Hyder, Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu, and Nick Bosa. You don't really need another defensive end. If they brought Arden Key in, that would just be a luxury move. So yeah, I think it does signal that Eric Armstead is going to be in. And that's what I was talking about earlier, letting the 49ers moves signal kind of what they're doing. And the moves that they make do signal exactly who they value and how they value certain, not only positions, but players.
Accurate, Ant. Very accurate indeed. Anyone heard about Verrett's knee? Asked Matthew Raleigh. I haven't heard any news in that regard in terms of where he's at with his rehab and how he's doing. But the initial report I saw a while back was that he was on pace to be healthy and good to go at the start of the season.
Kinlaw?
Verrett.
Verrett is supposed to be back.
Yeah.
Because he got hurt at the beginning of the season, he should be ready to roll. So I'm sure he could pass the physical right now. So we'll see. I seen Lou said, can Kinlaw play the nose? Can he play lower? He did play nose at South Carolina.
That's true.
So if you want to go back and watch film of him actually playing the nose, and then Chris Kasarik has been diligent for 2 straight seasons of making him play on that bag, the sled at practice. He just hits it and stays low. I think the knee was hindering him a little bit from playing lower, but it's always going to be a question with a guy who's playing at his height. Can he stay low enough to be able to beat a double team? So I don't think it's one of those things that's ever going to go away because of his height. And if he gets lazy and tired, that's when he can start playing higher. So.
And he does do that sometimes.
He does. And that's part of why Hassan Ridgeway's signing is so important, because now you have a guy that can come in and play for him. And so now he's a rotational piece. So he's going to stay healthy later into games, where you saw his rookie season, he played way too many snaps. And he would get exposed as the game went on, and he would get out of shape.
Very much the case, Ant. And so we're going to see. We're going to see what the Niners are going to do. Jared in Austin says, sack prediction for Kinlaw. He's got 8. Ant, if you had to give a sack prediction for Kinlaw, what would it be?
For Kinlaw right now, I don't know. I'm kind of just hoping the guy gets 3 sacks. If he can get Contavious Street kind of numbers, because I don't expect him to play on obvious pass downs.
True.
I don't think he's going to be. I seen Lou talking about him being a 3-down lineman. I don't think he's a 3-down lineman this year. I think this year is going to be all about stopping the run. He will play on 3rd and short, because it's a run situation. But I think that on 3rd and long, he's going to be out of the game. I think you look at Jordan Willis, Kerry Hyder, the guys that they've brought in, and that signals they want to get one of those extra edge rushers on the field and get your nose tackle off the field. But I think they just prioritize a little bit more speed and ability on the inside, and he hasn't proven to have that yet. So I think he'll be out, but I think they're hoping eventually he could develop into playing the 3-tech and being a 3-down defensive lineman, but I don't think that's this year.
It might not be. It might not be, and it feels like more of this is the year to have him in that rotation, have him playing 2 downs. Fable says 2.5. Mr. Corey says Kinlaw 3.5 sacks, maybe. Fable, I'm kind of in that 2.5. 3 range is where I'm at with you.
I'm saying 3. Contavious Street got 3 sacks. I think Kinlaw can get 3 sacks.
He's capable of 3.
Well, because of the potential and the athletes around him, they're going to force quarterbacks to step into the pocket into him, and he's going to engulf them. So I'm saying 3, but there's potential for more. But hopefully it's 3.
3 would be nice.
I think that would be nice with the guys that we have out there around him.
Agreed. Agreed with that there. And he needs to be able to rush the quarterback if he's going to be a 3-down lineman, said Lou. So yeah, I missed that second one there, Lou. You're not right. You're not wrong.
Yeah,
if he
right.
develops as a pass rushing threat and develops some pass rushing moves, then yeah, you're in a position now, in a situation where he can be on the field for 3 downs. But at the end of the day, I haven't seen anything from Kinlaw that makes me think he can stay healthy enough to be on the field for 3 downs. I just want a healthy Javon Kinlaw for 2. You give me that this year, we can work on getting ourselves closer and closer to him being a 3-down guy.
Yeah, if he gets out of training camp healthy, I think he's positioned to have a good season because the rotation is going to be easy for him. You know, I mean, they're not going to ask him to overtax his body. This is a good situation. He's in one of the thickest rotations there is in the NFL.
Accurate.
So he's going to play limited snaps, and that's going to benefit him in that knee. And hopefully this knee isn't actually chronic, but it's something he can recover from. If he can, he'll produce. If he can't, we're going to start talking about this guy, you know, potentially being a bust, which I don't want for the 49ers because I want him to be a good football player. But this is the first step in that process. Go in there, stop the run. When you're tasked with getting after the quarterback, get after it. And we'll see how you develop, and potentially maybe you can move back to the 3-tech eventually.
Possibly. It possibly could be the case, but it starts with this year. It starts with this moment and him getting on the field and being available. Great one says 6 sacks for Kinlaw, so he's got faith.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that as well.
Well done.
I do like that. Kinlaw wouldn't have 8 sacks in a 20-game season, says Mr. Corey. Mr. Corey, you always come with the fire, man. I always enjoy that. Rodney Montoya, the whole D-line is going to eat. It definitely does feel that way.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It definitely does feel that way. And I want that. More than anything in the world, I want this D-line to eat, because if this D-line can eat and this cornerback room continues to improve and get better, then we're looking at a situation here where this defense is going to be as strong as ever.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason they make concessions at other areas, because they know how good this defensive line is. And the fact that they're able to build this defensive line with, you know, and still be able to go get a high-priced corner, that's a good signal for the 49ers defense. That was a big move, and this defensive line is not, I don't know if it's as strong because we have the question marks about Kinlaw, but if Kinlaw reaches the potential of where he was drafted, then this defensive line is better than it was last year, and last year was pretty darn good.
It was.
If they get up there with the pass rushing ability to be as good as 2019, because I thought 2019 was better pass rushing, I thought 2021 was better against the run. If we can get both scenarios, then it could be potentially better than both, which is what you need, because you do need to step up a little bit more. A little bit better defense gets you to the Super Bowl.
It does. It does help you get to the Super Bowl. Look, Cutback Crew, we're going to start wrapping this thing up. So if you got any last-minute questions you want answered, you don't want us to miss it, leave it right now in the comment section below. And while you're doing that and we're waiting for these questions to pile in, Ant, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We are on the quest for 3K, as 49ers Fogey and Megan have been letting you know in the chat all night long. And we have been growing at a rapid pace, so we cannot thank the Cutback Crew enough for all of the support, all of the likes, the comments, being here, watching the videos, participating in the chat, super chatting, joining on Patreon, joining here, channel memberships on YouTube. All of it goes to help the channel in a variety of different ways. So we appreciate that help. We appreciate that support. And let's get to this first question here from Great One Ant. What do you think about Cameron Harris, running back out of Miami? I actually haven't watched a lot of Cameron Harris tape of Miami. I don't have him high on my list for San Francisco. Ant, is Cameron Harris a guy that you've been targeting or looking at?
Let me bring up Cameron Harris a little bit on his stats. That way I can get an idea of. I could possibly have him on my list. Let me see.
Let me see if I can pull up those stats as well, Ant.
Because he's not jumping off as somebody that I broke down.
Correct. Neither here. So 20. Here you go, Ant. I'll pull this over to this screen.
Thank
so you can
Appreciate
see it, my guy. 2019, that rookie sophomore campaign. 114 rushes, 576 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 16 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. 2020, that junior year, 11 games played, 126 carries, 643 yards, 10 rushing touchdowns, 18 catches for $131 and a tutty. And then 2021, this past season, 71 carries for 409 yards. So an uptick in terms of average yards per rush, 5 rushing touchdowns. Receiving category, 11 for $119 with a touchdown.
Okay, yeah, I went through my running back notes while I was sitting here as well. I did not break him down, so I'm gonna add him to the list, and then I will give you guys an idea of what I think at a later date. But yeah, I without watching any film of him, I don't really have an opinion on who he is. And out of the 30 or so running backs I've broken down, including the ones that aren't even on this, I have not broke him down yet. There's always somebody that you end up finding out.
Well, there's always somebody that you're going to miss.
Yeah.
I think the reason for me that Cameron Harris hasn't been a guy that I've been targeting is I've watched a lot of film with Miami on the other side, and nothing I've seen from him necessarily explodes off the page. Now, granted, there's so many games that Miami's played, so it's very easy that you find a game in which they have a bad matchup. So, yeah, we'll put him down. We'll take a look at him and give you a better idea the next time. Great one. As of right now, though, I don't see him as a guy the Niners would target, but that could change. Watch some film. We'll see. See what happens there. Joseph Whitewood, our DBs need help, obviously, but do you think we need to add someone to help out our linebacking core?
No, I don't think so. I think the linebacking core is set now. They could potentially draft someone that they believe could develop after Azeez Al-Shire or Dre Greenlaw are gone. I think that's potential. They bring back Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. They bring in the guy as well from Green Bay to play linebacker. So I think that it's pretty stout, and I don't think they're going to make a move unless it's a rookie guy that they believe they could develop. Potentially, though, an undrafted free agent, former safety that plays linebacker now. That they could go ahead and slide in there and develop on the practice squad.
You're not wrong, Ant. That's what it feels like they will do. I don't expect them, Joseph, to make any sort of linebacker signing or even drafting. If anything, it would be an undrafted guy. That's what it feels like right now.
Yeah.
Jaron Austin, why we ain't signed Julio yet?
Good question. I mean, I think that if Julio's number was right, the 49ers would be willing to bring in Julio Jones. But the number has to be right. And I haven't heard a lot of chatter about Julio Jones. I heard early on about Tampa Bay being interested, possibly New England, and since then, nothing. So he's on that list of players that's potentially waiting for his value to show up. He made $15 million last year. So when his number gets closer to $5 million, the 49ers would be interested.
Probably.
I think he's probably just wanting too much. He's probably wanting double-digit. He probably deserves double-digit money, but the 49ers aren't going to pay that with the fact that they know Deebo Samuel is on the books. Ain't going to get a huge contract.
No, it just doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. Brad Jones, if they bring back Verrett and Tart, do you think the defense is basically set?
Yeah, I do. I think the defense would be pretty much set. I think in the draft, you're just going best available player, which I found out if you do on the PFF draft board, you will get graded a perfect A. You just draft the best available player every single time, and it works.
Oh.
But anyways... I do think in that case they probably would still draft a cornerback, potentially a defensive lineman, but I don't think they would address it anymore in free agency. So I think in that case, the defense would be pretty stout and set.
I like that, Ant. I do like that one there. Joseph Whitebird, why haven't we signed out linemen or big name players? Would signing someone benefit our team more? I don't think the Niners believe that right now. I think they believe that the O-line position, you may be taking a step back, losing Lincoln Tomlinson, but they think they have the young guys up who can step up in a big way and help out, and maybe they have faith in Trey's ability to be able to wiggle and move and create and extend plays that they're like, hey, if we lose a little bit in pass pro at one of the guard spots, it might not be the end of the world.
Well, potentially they could be looking at like J.C. Treader and being like, yeah, I would love to add this guy to our roster.
True that too.
Because I do believe there's value out there and there's players they would love to add to their team. They just financially can't afford it. They can't afford it to bring them in and make it work right now. And I don't think they should pay top dollar for some of these free agents because it could hurt them down the line. They've got to be prudent in the way that they handle it. But yeah, I see a Treader out there and I'm like, come on, Niners. Bring him in, let him play guard for 1 year, and then let him take over for Alex Mack. To me, it does make a lot of sense.
It makes so much sense.
I just don't know if they're going to do it. So I do think they value some of these guys. They're just waiting for their number to come down to where it's feasible for them to go ahead and add that player to their roster.
Agreed with you there. I think they just want that number to be a little bit more friendly to San Francisco, especially right now, this year. Mr. Corey, you guys have just one choice and one channel that you have to pick from and to go on. Grant Miserable Cohen or David Company Man Lombardi. Who y'all picking? Who you picking, Ant?
I think as far as excitement wise, you would go like Grant Cohn.
Oh God, the fireworks would be off.
Yeah, he's going to be more exciting. I mean, I would personally, if I'm watching, I probably would listen to Lombardi because he's going to have some facts and stuff that I could listen to that maybe I could decipher. If I'm going for sheer entertainment value, it's probably Grant Cohn. If I'm going on with Grant Cohn, I want that because I want the smoke.
Yes.
So I would love to have that conversation. I think it would be fun. But as far as the channel, I mean, they are distinct differences.
There's huge differences.
Yeah,
it is huge differences.
They're polar opposites.
One is sensationalized in a lot of ways, and it's a lot of conjecture and speculation, and another guy is the exact opposite. What's a 180 difference of that? There is not a whole lot of speculation. It is just dealing with reality, numbers, facts. What he sees, film. I understand it. I understand liking both aspects and avenue of it, right?
Yeah.
Some people want to just deal with the numbers and the X's and O's and things they can understand and grasp and hold on to and latch onto. And some people like talking about, other things and possibilities and, the speculative side and trying to, dive into why things are happening, and just discuss it and talk about it.
Yeah.
But for entertainment value, like if you're looking for like a crazy conversation, it's Grant. You don't go anywhere else.
And
on
you
YouTube
see it lighting up in the chat. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, it's Grant. He's more entertaining.
Grant all the way. Lombardi said Jimmy is better than Brady, says Mr. Joe.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Sometimes all you gotta do is say one crazy thing, and
I think the crazy thing is like I haven't watched a lot of either one recently or listened to them. Occasionally I'll catch something that they do. But I haven't had the time. But I've watched some of both of them. So I think both of them are good for the 49ers community because I think they're on both ends of the spectrum. And then people get to choose what they like. And I think people are either they like Grant or they hate Grant, and they like Lombardi or they hate Lombardi. And
it's different reasons too, which is crazy, right? Grant, it's the hate because of just some of the stuff that he says, and the love because he's sticking it to the organization, right? And Lombardi, people love him because they feel honest about the team, fair to the team, understanding of the game, not trying to go over the top, and then hate him for the exact same reason that they love Grant Cohn, right? It's he's not hard enough on the team. He's a homer, and he's stuff like that. We've gotten a little bit of that hate as well at times, and you know what? We're all for it. We love that smoke. So it'd be interesting either way. Either way would be an interesting conversation. One is going to be a little more testy and spicy.
Yeah.
And one would be a little more football centric, which I don't know if y'all know, we love football. So
yeah,
we do love ourselves some football.
You go on Lombardi, I'll go on Cone. We'll just enjoy it. We'll just enjoy 49ers content.
But I want to call him a clown to his face. And I can't do that if I'm not.
There you go.
Oh, man. Bomber T, do you think Verrett's knee will hold up another season?
No idea.
No clue. There's no
idea.
way to know at this point.
Yeah, there's no way.
No possible way. Sakura says, prediction on who would replace Tart if we didn't re-sign him.
Right now, it appears it's either going to be Tarvarius Moore or it'll be
someone in the draft.
No, I mean it could be George Odom. We don't know for sure.
Could be.
I would think it would be one of those two guys. I think Moore is the one that I feel the most confident in because he's been in San Francisco.
True.
Besides that, that's my confidence level. He's been there and I've seen him play. But I don't know how he would elevate his game. So I don't know if they feel very confident right now with the safety room. I think they feel confident in the depth, but I don't know if they feel confident in the two starters that they're rolling out there right now.
Very true, and very true indeed. Fable asked, are we over the cap right now? How far off from the cap threshold are we? Just a little over $2 million under. So we're a little bit $2 million under the cap at the moment. All the signings that they've been making recently, Fable, haven't really pushed them much closer. All of those contracts have been under that top 51 contract, so it has not counted against the cap as of right now.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, they're sitting there at $2 million, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
They still have a little bit of wiggle room, but yeah, I think at some point they have to free up some cap space, but we'll see what they do. But so far they've been getting around it. So
solid question here from Google account Ant. Hey guys, what do you think is more true? Niners asked too much for Jimmy, or Jimmy was too expensive. That's why Mariota and Trubisky got signed instead of Jimmy.
Yeah, both could be the case.
Do you think one is more true than the other?
I
think that they understand Jimmy's value and it's just a little too much for them. They don't want to have to pay it. Or do you think the Niners are just asking too much?
I mean, it's one of those things where you're worth what someone's going to pay you. So if they feel they're too expensive, I mean, a lot of the teams we're talking about were willing to give up 3-1s for Deshaun Watson. So they're really about improving their room. They probably would have gave it up. I think the Colts were possibly willing to go closer to what the 49ers wanted. The problem was Atlanta Falcons did a fire sale and sold Matt Ryan for a third round pick.
True.
And so that became where you had Matt Ryan, who's been an MVP before, and Jimmy Garoppolo. The third round pick for Matt Ryan is just too much value to pass up.
Very, very much the case, and very much the case. It'll be very interesting. I do think it's probably a little bit of both. I think Jimmy's value is higher than a lot of 49ers fans. Well, not a lot. I'd say 50% of 49ers fans believe. But I do think the Niners really dug their heels in terms of what they wanted and wanted someone to give them more than maybe what they were looking for. And, situations didn't play out for that to be a possibility or the case. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Eric, I love this from Eric Dane. I must be a moderate because I unfollowed both of them. That is glorious.
There you go. I mean, and I think some people do feel that way.
There are definitely people who feel the way you do, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally follow them on a daily basis. I will see things that they post, but I don't. And I mean, I think that there's a lot of content creators, so everyone has an opportunity to go whichever way they want.
That's true. Also,
so that is a good thing about having an abundance of 49ers content creators.
Very true. Very, very true, Ant. There's a lot of that. Let's see here. I did see a couple of really good questions. Lou, where do you think the $8 million to sign the rookie class is going to come from if we still have Jimmy Garoppolo?
It's going to come from a restructure and extension. I mean, that's probably where it's going to come from. They know that's the case. They wouldn't be, making the signings that they're making without that happening. It could be as simple as an extension for Deebo Samuel, frees up the money. Jimmy Ward extension. There are ways to come up with that money. At some point, they're going to do it. And the fact that they've kicked the can down the road a little bit with George Kittle and with Eric Armstead means they're probably going to do it again. Well, D Ford as well.
Also accurate.
They'll be able to free up the money, but then they know that the Jimmy Garoppolo money it will come off the books at some point, or they'll be rolling with a $25 million player as a backup quarterback. But I would think that eventually that happens. He's either traded or gone. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm definitely not holding my breath though.
No, there's no point to hold your breath at this point. And I think Brad had said, and a couple other people had said, if we ever did go on with Cone, they want us to call him Lex Luthor to his face, or in our case, Thanos. I will probably let a Thanos slip out.
Yeah,
just because.
And Lou said no more dead cap space.
Or
he said more dead cap.
You want more dead cap?
No, he's saying that would cause more dead cap.
It would cause more dead cap.
Yeah,
and the Niners have shown that they're not about that dead cap.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
I like what Itchy said, too. I like both because they bring different things. The best representation of the truth is a well-rounded group. There you go. Listen to a bunch of different people. And,
the more lenses you have, too, the more information you're going to have, the more perspectives you're going to have, and the better you're going to be able to make your own decision.
There you go.
And understand what's going on. And try not to let all of this overwhelm you, because right now, free agency, big names not coming to San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo still being on the roster, and 49ers fans are overwhelmed.
Okay, so Fable said, Ant, you just said something that literally made my blood pressure spike. Extend Jimmy. What I'm trying to do is find a way to free cap space. I meant more of a way to add void years, so it's almost like a restructure to get his current number down. And then you would eventually have the dead cap money, which you don't want. So that's what I mean, Fable. So that way you understand where I'm coming from. It's not about keeping Jimmy Garoppolo for multiple years after this, but a way to get his cap number down if they felt that keeping him was the most necessary route.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Mr. Corey, any truth to the rumor D Ford has more restructures than sacks?
Over the last 2 years, that is accurate.
That is accurate, actually.
Yeah.
That one is actually true.
Actually, I don't know how many sacks he had this season.
Was it 3?
I think he had 3, he's had 2 restructures.
So no, it's not.
So sacks.
Myth busted.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Corey, but
it was close. Hey, it was close though.
Yeah.
It was close.
It was close.
Matthew Relly, I will sign at any position for $1.9 million as a favor to the 49ers.
There you go.
You'll be under the 50. You'll be under the budget. You're not going to count against the cap.
I'm with you on that.
I'll do that as well.
Yeah.
I'll do that as well. If Jimmy's playing next year, I'm watching golf says Bomber.
Maybe.
There's going to be a lot of people who feel that way.
People will feel that way.
Great one. Do you guys think Velus Jones will be our best option in the draft for a speed wide receiver? I don't know if it'll be the best option. I think there'll be guys the Niners could get that are very speedy, where their picks are, but it's not a bad option.
There's lots of options for speed receivers. We talked about Danny Gray earlier. Of course, Velus Jones is another one.
Absolutely.
I'm going blank on the guy from Baylor, but he'll be available somewhere late as well.
Tyquan Thornton's going to be late. He's going to be late.
He's going to be late. There's going to be speed options that are available. Reggie Roberson's another guy that's pretty fast.
From SMU.
Mm-hmm. SMU has a lot of talented players.
That they do, Ant. Look, at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of very interesting things that are going to be going on with the San Francisco 49ers. And look, Cutback Crew, one of the best places for you to get that information, breaking news, tons of different types of content, styles of content, is right here on the 49ers Cutback. So if you're new here, this is your first time, like a couple of different people here. We've had a handful of newbies in the chat tonight, and it's been a lot of fun talking with all of you. If you have not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any of the content that we got coming your way. And there is tons, because right now it's all free agency, but very soon we're going to start shifting towards the draft, and once we start shifting into draft content, we're also got brand new, never before seen content on this channel that you're not going to get anywhere else on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, lots of cool things are coming your way. Expect some announcements here in the near future. I'm excited about where the channel's headed, and definitely all the conversations we've been having with people in the chats over the live streams over the last couple weeks as we've been going through free agency. And I'm looking forward to these conversations continuing all the way to the draft and beyond. So yeah, stay tuned, and this is going to be fun. And thanks so much to everyone for the interaction. I've had a good time.
We had a fun time. Blasty blast tonight. Cutback crew, that's all thanks to you. These live Q&As are always fun. And when you have a little bit of 49ers news as well, it's always nice to talk about some things. 49ers making some moves. We'll see if there's any more moves to be made. But Ant, it's about that time, my guy.
Yeah, let's chalk another one up.
See you later, Cutback crew. Hopefully breaking news tomorrow. Let's just hope.